Hi guys, it's me ChazRHD and welcome to the race watch along for the 2019 Spanish Grand Prix from the Circuit de Catalunya in Catalonia, Spain. Great to see you all here for the Grand Prix today. It is likely to not be the greatest Grand Prix of all time, but I think we are in for an interesting Grand Prix at some parts, so don't think that this Grand Prix is going to be wall-to-wall boring today, because I think it will be actually quite exciting. But great to see all you guys here, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what time it is. Great to see everyone here on this Sunday. For me, a sunny Sunday afternoon. But before I get into looking at the teams and how I think they're going to do in the Grand Prix today, let me remind you guys, in case you forgot, what the results of qualifying were yesterday. So, starting on pole position will be Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton is second. Sebastian Vettel is third. Max Verstappen is fourth. Charles Leclerc is fifth. Pierre Gasly is in P6. And then you've got the two Haas cars of Grosjean and K-Mag, P7 and P8. Kvyat, P9. Ricciardo qualified P10, but will start P13 because of that grid penalty he got for the crash with Kvyat in Baku. And then your bottom 10, Norris P11, he will start P10. Albon qualified P12, but will start P11. Carlos Sainz qualified 13th, but will start P12. Raikkonen will start 14th. Perez will start 15th. Hülkenberg qualified in P16, but he will not start the Grand Prix there. He's actually going to start from the pit lane. More on that when we get onto Renault. So Stroll will start in 16th, then it'll be Giovinazzi 17th. Kubica 18th, then Russell 19th because Russell has a penalty, and then Hülkenberg will be at the back with that penalty he got for an incident during qualifying, which I'll get onto soon enough. But now, let's get into the preview of the teams, and we'll start at the very top and start with Mercedes. Now, you guys know during my build up to a race or qualifying session, I don't tend to give away my predictions until I finally get onto them, but I'm going to be honest, Mercedes are going to win today. They're going to. There is no way, unless a catastrophe happens, whether that's a crash between Bottas and Hamilton, a reliability issue really badly affecting the team like Austria in 2018, a really, really bad pit stop for both drivers. That's the only way I can see anyone other than this team going on to win the Grand Prix, because their car in the areas you need to be good around this track is so good, and they do have the best aerodynamics and chassis on the grid. They do. And at this track, if you have that and you have enough top end speed for the first sector, you're going to be very, very strong, and that's what they are. They are very, very strong, and I expect a 1-2 finish for this team. Valtteri Bottas will be leading them away from pole from Lewis Hamilton second. Now, it's a bit annoying at the moment in Formula 1, but that's just the way it is. But it seems as though if you get pole and you lead away after turn 1, except for the Bahrain Grand Prix, you tend to go on to win the Grand Prix. So basically, in terms of who's going to win out of Bottas and Hamilton, it really does come down to, I think, the first lap. Because if Hamilton, can get past Bottas and have a good opening couple laps and pull a gap to Valtteri, then that is probably going to be race over, because those two, I know Valtteri had a 0.6 of a second gap in qualifying for his pole position, but Hamilton, if he did a clean lap, could have gone a lot faster. But they're going to be so evenly matched on speed that I don't think during the actual part of the Grand Prix we're going to see, wheel-to-wheel battling between those two. So in terms of which driver wins, it comes really down to the first lap. But there's no doubt for me that this team is going to win the Grand Prix. Next up, Ferrari, who were worse yesterday than we thought they would be. We thought they'd be on the third, not the third row, on the second row with Vettel and Leclerc third and fourth. And I thought they would be a third of a second, at most 4/10 of a second down on pole position, but they actually turned out to be double that time behind, and they did not lock out third row. They did not lock out third. Why do I keep saying third row? They did not lock out the second row. They instead finished up in P3 and P5. Vettel, I think, did the best he could. The Ferrari car just is not good in any real corners at this track. The Ferrari is only good in the acceleration zones. So, yeah, that's really the only bits of the track where Ferrari are actually good. Everywhere else, we have to brake and turn. They're not good. And then Charles Leclerc ended up P5 because he had a botched Q3 because of him damaging his own floor in qualifying 2. But going into this Grand Prix, I'm going to be honest, the best they can hope for, in my opinion, is the result that they had from qualifying, 3rd and 5th, because I think Ferrari's race pace will be worse than their qualifying pace, and as we've seen with this team over the past, they tend to get worse in a race, not better, in terms of their result and also their speed. So I think Ferrari, I think a good result for them would be getting on the podium with one of their cars, because I honestly think Red Bull, when it comes to race pace, will have a better car. We'll get on to Red Bull in just a moment. But yeah, I think Red Bull will have a better car when it comes to race pace. So Ferrari, their aim has to be to get a podium. And that is, in my opinion, going to be a tough thing to do. Talking of Red Bull, let's go on to them now. Red Bull, I thought, had a very good qualifying P4 and P6. Very good qualifying session, one of the best qualifying sessions they have had so far this season, in my opinion. And I think are looking good going into the Grand Prix. I think they'll have a better race car than Ferrari because power matters less in the race because you can't use as much of it in a Grand Prix than you can in qualifying. And if you look at the track, in all of the braking and turning corners, not the fast corners, the Red Bull does look a lot better than the Ferrari. And those corners become very important to your race pace on Grand Prix days. So I think Red Bull will have the better race car. Not massively. I don't think it'll be, half a second faster or anything like that. But I think they will have the better race car by at most quarter of a second. And I think Max has a very, very good chance of a podium. Very, very good chance. Whether he'll get it or not, it really does depend on a couple of things like the start and can he hang on to the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel and stuff like that. If he can, then he should be able to really go for Vettel and get a podium. But yeah, I think for Red Bull, they can definitely get a podium today. And I think their hopes today have to be, say, getting a podium and then with Pierre Gasly maybe nicking a top 5 at best. But yeah, looking good, I think, for Red Bull Racing. But I'll quickly move on to this picture when we go on to the midfield in just a moment. But before we do, right now, guys, in the live chat, let me know, who do you think is going to do well and not so well out of the top teams? For Mercedes, do you think they are going to dominate this Grand Prix like I think they will? For Ferrari, can they do anything to have a better race than they did in qualifying? And for Red Bull, do you think that they can finish on the podium like I think they can? I'm not saying yet they will, but I think they can. Let me know right now in the live chat, and I'll read out as many comments as I can for the next 5 minutes or so, and then we will go on to the midfield. But I just want to say, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as we do watch-alongs for qualifying, practice, and the race every race weekend. And I will be doing a full live review of the Grand Prix later on at 6 PM UK time. So make sure to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can subscribe right there, or click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe, and hit the notifications bell for more content like this. But before we go on to your comments, guys, let me quickly just have a drink to make sure my throat does not die during the stream. Right, so let's get to reading your comments for the next 5 minutes, and then we'll go on to the midfield. Right, let's see what you guys have to say. Prussia says Mercedes will dominate both Red Bulls. Will, of course, finish in front of the Ferraris. So you think Mercedes and Red Bull have good races. Good morning to Wiggle Piggle. Still a funny name. Will F1 says that he thinks that Ferrari will get a 4th and 5th. As a Vettel fan, predicting this result at least, I won't be too disappointed if they don't get a podium. By the way, Astro Stevo, if the stream hasn't started for you, I would probably think about refreshing the link, and then I should be live for you if that's still happening for you. But anyway, Will F1 also says the Ferrari needs a lot more downforce. Absolutely, they need tons more downforce than they have. Right, let me read out some more comments here. The race will be interesting is if one of the Mercedes has a terrible start. That's from Andrew Drury. Yeah, that's the only thing. Realistically, I mean, yeah, people will say, oh, but what if Bottas and Hamilton take each other out? Realistically, that's not going to happen. That is kind of a 1 in a million thing. The most realistic thing that could make this race exciting at the top is if one of the Mercedes or both of the Mercedes are jumped by a Ferrari or a Red Bull behind them. And that would make things very exciting. It absolutely would. But the chances of that, it's hard to predict that. It's really hard to predict what the start is going to give you. Sometimes it can be boring. Sometimes it can be so exciting. You just don't know what can happen at the start of a Grand Prix. And that's why the start of races is so fun, I think, at times. Right, let me read out some more comments here. Tonka Toy Truck says Ferrari could have a perfect car, but their team strategy always fails them. Well, this is the thing. They don't have that good of a car. But even if they did, I wouldn't trust Ferrari that much to go out and win races. I wouldn't. Look at Bahrain. They were going to win the race, but then they had their, reliability issue. But in the race, even if they did win, you have to say they would have made such a hard job of doing so to win that Grand Prix. It's just the way Ferrari are. Ferrari don't win boring races. That's for sure. Dexter Hall says Merc 1-2, and I believe Charles will finish ahead of Max. Paul M says or asks, can't Ferrari make the most out of the straight sections? Only at the start, really, because this is the thing. Say if the two Mercedes are 1 and 2 on the first lap and Ferrari are third with Vettel, the only parts of the track where Vettel can stay close enough is going to be, if Bottas and Hamilton are not side by side, is the run down to turn 1, kind of on the exit of 3 going down to 4, depending on the entry and exit of 3 for Vettel. And then if he is close enough, still the run between 9 and 10 on the second DRS straight. But if he's not close enough even by that point, then he cannot use that straight line speed anymore, because the Mercedes will start pulling away massively in the corners and the Ferrari won't be able to use its speed. So if Ferrari do get ahead of a Mercedes, it will be on the first lap, most likely down to the first corner. I don't see, Ferrari passing a Mercedes on the second or third lap. I just don't see that at all. But let me just read a couple more comments, and then I will get on to the midfield. Matthew Felton says, I predict the start will be a bit of a replay of Bahrain. Bottas and Hamilton down to turn 1, and by turn 2, one of them will have to bite in order to block Vettel. But I think they will be wheel-to-wheel turn 1. I think Hamilton and Bottas will be quite aggressive with each other down to turn 1, because they both know, really within that team, given the pace they both have, that if they lose out in the battle down to turn 1 or down to turn 4 at the latest, then they're not going to win. So expect those two to really go for it down to turn 1. But as you said, if there is a car close behind, they may have to start playing the team game rather than the game of the Drivers' Championship. But I think now we'll go on to the midfield. By the way, guys, just to let you know, there is 45 minutes to go until the start of the Grand Prix. Just letting you know that, because I know some of you guys are wondering when the race starts. It starts in about 45 minutes time, so don't worry. We are getting very close to the start of the Grand Prix. But now let's go on to the midfield and start off with Renault. Qualifying, even though Daniel Ricciardo got into the top 10, qualifying for me was not good enough for Renault. They did not have really that great of a car, and I think honestly Daniel Ricciardo, his lap to get into P10 was more so him having a great lap rather than the Renault car being good enough to get into that position, because the Renault has been quite poor, and because of Ricciardo's penalty he will start P13, and then Hülkenberg is starting in the pit lane. Now, you guys know yesterday he crashed on track and then had to, come in for a new front wing and all that. Well, the reason he is starting from the pit lane is because he put on a new specification of front wing onto his car. I didn't actually know this was a rule, but apparently it is. You're not allowed to put new types of aerodynamic parts on your car after the start of qualifying, because that counts as you breaking parc fermé. So technically, Nico Hülkenberg broke parc fermé by putting on a new specification of front wing. Now maybe that was the only other front wing they had, but I kind of doubt that, because this is Renault. They're not struggling for money or resources. So yeah, disappointing there. And Renault are starting the race 13th and 20th, and it gets even worse for Renault, because not only do they have one car in the pit lane, but Ricciardo, he does start in 13th, but because he qualifies inside the top 10, he has to start on a worn set of soft tyres. And that is, if you look at the track right now, it's very sunny and very hot at the track. That is not good for those tyres. Those tyres will fall to pieces. So, yeah, not good for Renault. And I think their chances of points are not that great. I would honestly put it under 50%, their chances of points, because of the predicament they find themselves in on the starting grid. So not looking good for Renault. Next up is McLaren. Qualifying for McLaren was slightly disappointing. I think they were hoping for a couple positions better at most, but that's what happened in qualifying. But at least for them, they have a car starting inside the top 10 in Lando Norris, who can, because he qualified outside the top 10, he can start on whatever compound of tyre he wants to. So most likely that will be the medium compound, because the medium compound has looked very good around here. So that is good for McLaren, and I think that will aid him if he is to have a successful Grand Prix. And I think Norris could end up finishing at the front of the midfield, just like Carlos Sainz, who also can start on whatever tyre he wants to. So in the Grand Prix, really watch out for McLaren, because they could have the best race car. I think Toro Rosso also are going to be very strong in this Grand Prix, but McLaren, I think, are looking good. I think they're definitely going to get a points finish with one car. They could do so with both cars, but I'm not so sure that will happen. But I think one of their cars will definitely get into the points, because the McLaren, when it comes to race pace, normally is very good, and they can start on whatever tyres they want to, which is going to be that compound on that car right there, the medium compound tyre. Most likely, I'm not saying that's what they absolutely are going to start on, but most likely they will, because it's the best tyre to start on for this Grand Prix. You don't want to be starting on the soft if you don't have to. But let's move on from McLaren and go on to Alfa Romeo, who, you have to say, are having a rather forgettable weekend. Kimi Räikkönen P14, Antonio Giovinazzi will start in P17. Yeah, not that great of a weekend so far for Alfa, and I'm going to be honest, I think their chances of points are not that great. They're going to have to need either a great performance by one of the drivers or luck, I think, to get in the points. It can happen. It absolutely can happen. I think Kimi, if he can really have a great first stint and be very quick in that Alpha, I think he can nick a point. But again, he will need things to go right for him. He really will need things to go right for him, such as extra pit stops by other people, a couple retirements maybe. So I think Kimi, I think he will struggle, honestly, to get into the top 10. For Giovinazzi, he definitely won't get in the top 10 because I think he is starting way too far back. But I think I just want to make this point with Giovinazzi. I mean, you guys may be expecting me to say, oh, Giovinazzi's been poor this weekend, but Raikkonen is only, what, 3 positions ahead of him on the grid. So it's not like the Alfa Romeo should be in the top 10 because it shouldn't be. So I think what's been done so far by Antonio is good enough, considering that car really is not that good this weekend. So yeah, not looking great for them. A chance of points is not that strong. And if you are a Kimi Raikkonen fan or an Alfa fan, don't expect a points finish. Next up though is Haas, who after qualifying, it's pretty clear to say that they did have the best car in the midfield. But as we know, with the tyres and with how they wear tyres out, we know that they do tend to drop back in the races. So I think even though they have qualified on the 4th row, I think they are likely to drop back. Not massively, because I think, you know, where they're starting is the best place to start off for them with the tyre issues they do have. So maybe they can protect the positions they have for quite a bit of time, but I think they will drop back. I don't think Haas will have enough pace over 66 laps in this heat with those tyres. And remember, they're starting on worn soft tyres. I just don't think they will have enough to finish where they've qualified. I think one car, if they're going to score points, it will be with one car. It won't be with both cars. I don't think Haas have that good of a car when it comes to the race. So yeah, not looking great going into the Grand Prix. Well, actually, no, it is looking great going into the Grand Prix in terms of where they're starting from. But in terms of the race pace we expect them to have, I'm not expecting a great Grand Prix, honestly, from Haas F1. Next up, Toro Rosso. Toro Rosso have really not been talked about enough for me this weekend. They've had one of the fastest cars in the midfield. I'd honestly dare to say they've had the 5th best car this weekend and the 2nd best in the midfield. They've been very quick. Kvyat's been consistently in the top 10. He starts in P9. Albon starts P11 and he can start on whatever tyres he wants to. So I think Toro Rosso, if they can have a start that's clean, I think they are going to have a good race because most of the time their race pace does tend to be good and they tend to be good anyway at this track. So watch out for Toro Rosso. They really could have a strong double points finish at this Grand Prix. I'm not sure they will, but they really could. I think one car will definitely get into the points. I think Danny Kvyat will be finishing in the points today. But yeah, definitely watch out for Toro Rosso. They are going to be mega quick, I think, in this race. And the final team in the midfield is Racing Point, who have had a terrible weekend. They have the slowest car in the midfield. They start the Grand Prix 15th and 16th. And yeah, their chances of points are kind of like Alpha's, not really that great at all. And I'm not expecting them to have that good of a Grand Prix. I don't think that they can really get near points. I just don't see what they can do with their car. Because we know with Racing Point, they do tend to have a better race car than qualifying car. But the thing is, they're starting so far back. And at this track, it's hard to pass anyway. How can they really use that in this Grand Prix? I just don't see how they can. So, yeah, Racing Point, they're the least likely team in the midfield to score points. They just haven't had that good of a car this weekend. And finally, it's Williams, who, of course, will finish at the back. But, guys, let me know with how long to go. About 35 minutes to go until the start of the Grand Prix. Let me know right now in the live chat, out of the midfield, who do you think, as we've seen a replay here of Hamilton almost colliding with Vettel down the pit lane as they're going to the grid. That's a bit weird. Yeah, right now in the live chat, let me know who do you think will have a good race and who will not. Do you think Toro, Rosso and McLaren will be good? Do you think Haas can maintain their grid position? Do you think Renault can have a great result considering where they're starting from? What about Alfa and Racing Point? Let me know right now in the live chat and I'll get reading out your comments right now. As again, we've got 35 minutes to go until lights out. Right, let me just see what you guys have to say when it comes to the midfield. JB says, I disagree, Chaz. I think they will be very fast. Oh, I absolutely butchered that, but there you go. Steve Google says, is Cyril a beatball? Does Cyril, I don't know what you're trying to say. Is Cyril Beatball has had a cloud of fraud over him? I think he may be a complete charlatan. I don't know what you're trying to say there. Let me just see what you guys are saying. Tonka Toy Truck says Racing Point went backwards with the upgrades. It feels that way. It does feel that way. But then again, we were always expecting them to drop back here compared to what they were like in Baku. So it's not exactly a surprise they're not in the top 10. But yeah, they are quite poor considering where I thought they would probably be at best. Mario Master says he thinks Kvyat could finish best of the rest. Or no, that he will finish best of the rest. That's Mario Master's opinion. I think he does have a good chance of doing so because the Toro Rosso car looks very good. It looks like a strong midfield car. Very strong midfield car. And I think that car had as much power as the Haas. I think Kvyat could have been right in there with the Haas's, if not ahead. That's how good the Toro Rosso has been this weekend. Astro Stevo says he thinks Albon will do well. I think maybe. It really does depend on his start. We'll have to wait and see how he does at the start. JB asks, is Ricciardo and Russell the only drivers taking penalties? No, also Nico Hulkenberg will start from the pit lane because he put on a new specification of front wing on after his crash in qualifying, which you're not allowed to do according to the regulations. So both Renaults have penalties and Russell. James Donovan says Giovinazzi too. I haven't actually seen that. I will have a look soon as to that, but I thought it was the only the two Renaults and the Williams of Russell. James Donovan says gearbox. Right, okay. I'll have a look at that on Twitter in a few minutes' time. James Donovan also says Roman is the one to watch. He needs this. He does. He absolutely does need to really have a strong race today. He has not. I know Haas have been poor in the races, but it's still unbelievable to say Roman Grosjean has not scored a point in 2019. That's shocking. That's a shocking start to the season considering his car has been good this season in the qualifying sessions and stuff like that. And he has qualified in the top 10 in the 4 out of the first 5 races this season, except for Baku. So that is quite disappointing, but there you go. Yep, I'm just seeing Giovinazzi's a gearbox penalty. Okay. Tonka Toy Truck asks, does Kimi get a penalty for his front wing? Nope, that issue's been sorted out. The reason that he got a penalty there was because Alfa knew about the fault on their front wing, but they didn't have a new one to avoid getting a penalty in Baku. and they knew the new front wing would come at Barcelona. So they already have that new front wing, so no penalty will be applied. And if there was a penalty, it would have been announced by now, because the deflection tests for the front wing take place quite a bit before the Grand Prix. Right, let me read out a couple more comments and then we'll go on to the next topic, which is to do with tyres, which for this Grand Prix is very, very important. Tyres is very, very important. Matthew Felton says he is expecting the Toro Rossos to be between P8 and P12, but would like to see Albon P7. Astro Stevo, no, please don't. Please don't. I want to avoid people posting links because, yeah, it doesn't tend to end well. So please don't post any links. Michael Arvin, Kimi and Toro Rosso has or will have a good race. I assume you're trying to say there. Not sure about Kimi, but I think the Toro Rossos, I think as long as they don't have a bad start or a crash at the start, I think they'll be absolutely fine and be right in there for the points. But I think now we'll move on to the tyre situation. And let me just get rid of the race that's not started yet. I'll put that back up soon so you guys know what's going on. The race starts in about 30 minutes time, so half an hour until lights out. Let me just get to this. Here you go. This is the tyres situation for this Grand Prix, and it is very important. Now, these are the sets of tyres that all the drivers have. Now, Hamilton and Bottas, of course, they're starting on soft tyres, so they can only go on to really new mediums or new hard tyres. Their strategy in terms of how many stops they do, it depends on the gap they have to Ferrari and Red Bull. If they have a pit stops gap, then I think they will go for a 2-stop. But if they're, say, half a pit stop ahead, I think they'll go soft to hard, maybe, to get to the end. For Ferrari, they have 2 sets of medium tyres for both Vettel and Leclerc. I think that does point to a 2-stop because, of course, they're both starting on soft tyres, and then 2 sets of mediums should be able to be a comfortable 2-stop. Max Verstappen has 1 new set of medium tyres and soft tyres. I think that also points towards a 2-stop for Max, because he can then go from soft to soft, then to medium, or go soft to medium to soft and be quick, very quick in one of the stints, even though he will suffer with tyre wear at the end of that second soft stint run if he does go for it. Gasly might go for a 1-stop considering he's comfortably P6. You can see there Ricciardo, even though he starts 13th, only has 1 new set of mediums and hard tyres, but has to start the soft tyres, so he will struggle. Hulkenberg, plenty of tyres to play with. Magnussen and Grosjean, same as Ricciardo. You can see there Sainz and Norris, 1 new set of soft compound tyres, same with Perez and Raikkonen. So if they are definitely doing a 2-stop, they could go medium, then soft, and then maybe, or do they have a hard or used set of mediums? No, they don't. So, right, so McLaren are probably going to go medium to hard and do a 1-stop. I'm going to say the same for Racing Point. Alfa, I think Alfa will probably go for a 2-stop. And then you got Toro Rosso. Look, 2 new sets of medium tyres. So Toro Rosso are probably going to go for a 2-stop, maybe. Actually, no, it might be a 1-stop because they have a new, or not a new, a used set of hard tyres. So they can use the new set of mediums. Actually, wait, no, Kvyat's on softs, isn't he? So Kvyat will start on softs, and then there's 2 new sets of mediums. So Kvyat will be on a 2-stop, and I think Albon, I think Albon is probably going to do a 2-stop as well, considering the amount of tyres he does have left. And then Russell and Kubica, well, really, who cares about them? But there you go. That's the tyre situation. It's going to be interesting. I think the tyres are the interesting part of this race because I think, honestly, we could have half the grid on a 1-stop and half the grid on a 2-stop. So really watch out for that. And I think it'll be very interesting to see when the first real pit stop is. in this Grand Prix and who decides to go early at what is, if you look at the track right now, a very hot looking Spanish Grand Prix. So this is going to be a very interesting point of contention at this race. I think with the lack of overtaking opportunities, I think a one stop is probably the best way to go. But if you're not close enough, if you're not far enough ahead of other drivers, then I think you're probably going to have to opt for the two stop, because you won't be able to maintain the gap you have for long, because fresh tyres around here are very, very, very powerful, more so than Baku and kind of Shanghai. I'd say maybe this track is less powerful with the undercut, but it's very close with that track. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think definitely a one and a two stop will be varied across the grid. It will be interesting to see what happens with that. I think a couple teams will take a risk and go for a one stop, but I think there will be some that go for a two stop. I think Ferrari and Red Bull could really make this race interesting by going for that two stop. But before I go on to my predictions, let me actually see what you guys have to say in regards to the tyres, because again, it is very important. By the way, the race starts in 25 minutes time, so don't worry, we are not that far away from lights out in Barcelona. But yeah, let me just read out some comments. Before I go on to my predictions in just a moment. By the way, Tonka Toy Truck, no, BT Sport is not showing the race. They don't show Formula 1. They only show MotoGP and Speedway, I think it's called. Right, let me see some comments here. Dexter Hall says, or asks, what is the tyre delta for the soft and medium? It's probably, if you go from medium to soft, you're probably going to gain a second, I think, at least. I think a second is a safe bet in terms of time you'll gain. But it kind of also depends on, you know, if you're in traffic, where you are in the Grand Prix, how your car is. It depends on those things as well. But if your car's working fine, you should be gaining a second if you go from medium to soft, and then losing a second with, you know, that tyres if you go from soft to medium in terms of how fast you could go if you pit from one to the other if you swap it round. So I think, yeah, from medium to soft is about a second, the delta. Tonka Toy Truck says Ferrari will force the two stops with a different strategy, in my opinion. To be honest, with how their weekend has gone, they might as well just go for a two-stop and hope for the best, because even if they don't finish on the podium, is that really going to be a disaster? I mean, their season is a disaster anyway, so they might as well just go for it and hope that there's a virtual safety car or a safety car, and that brings them back into play. Matthew Felton says, guys, I'm excited. Finally bought sub-service to F1 site, watching a race on computer, listening to Chaz on the phone, and watching telemetry on the Kindle. That is the best way to probably watch the race. But yeah, thanks for listening to me for the race watch along. Michael Arvin says Haas will make two stops, both of hard tyres. Yeah, Haas guaranteed two stop. Absolutely guaranteed two stop strategy for the Haas team. But let me now go on to my top three predictions for the 2019 Spanish Grand Prix, which gets underway in about 20 minutes time. Make sure, guys, once I finish mine, or during when I do mine, make sure to put your predictions in the live chat, and I'll read out as many from when I start reading them out until lights out in Barcelona. So make sure to put your predictions in the chat, and I'll read out as many as I can. Also include, you know, 4th, 5th, 6th, so on and so forth. But now let's get on to who I think will win the Spanish Grand Prix of 2019. And I think Valtteri Bottas will win this Grand Prix because he was so good in qualifying, has been very quick this weekend, has been almost fastest in every session. I think the only sessions he was not fastest in was Q2 and FP3, so has been very good this weekend. And I think he will maintain the lead down to the first corner and take the race win. If he does win the race, it'll be his first win in Spain, and it will be Mercedes' fourth 1-2 in the race at the Spanish Grand Prix. They had a 1-2 here in 2014, 2015, and last year in 2018. So this would be their fourth 1-2 in the last 5 years, I believe. In second place, I am going for Lewis Hamilton, who, of course, is starting from second. I think he won't beat Bottas down to the first corner. I think Bottas will beat him down to turn 1 and maintain the lead. And because it'll be difficult to pass, and because also the Mercedes car is clearly the best on the grid, he will maintain, at the very least, second place in this Grand Prix. And I think he will finish in P2 in the Grand Prix. But if he does win, it will be his fourth win at the Circuit de Catalunya, and Mercedes are looking for their fifth race win at this Grand Prix after winning in 2014, 2015, 2017 and 2018. So this would be race win number 5 around the Circuit de Catalunya. And then in third, I've gone for not a massive surprise, but it's definitely different from the grid order. In third place, I'm going for Max Verstappen, who starts in P4. The reason I think he will finish in P4 is because I think the Red Bull car has better race pace. I think that the car just looks better in the aerodynamic and chassis parts of the track, where in the race that does become quite important. By the way, I've just seen confirmation of Giovinazzi's gearbox penalty, so I'll make sure to include that for the running order. But yeah, I think race pace will be good for him. I think he will have a good Grand Prix, and I think will try to attack Vettel at many points of this Grand Prix if he's not ahead of him at the start. And I think Max will get a podium. If he does, it'll be his third podium at this race. He got a podium here, of course, in 2016, where he won on his debut for Red Bull. And, of course, he got a podium last year in 2018. But if Red Bull, by some miracle, can win the Grand Prix today, it'll be their first win at the Spanish Grand Prix since 2016, where again, Max Verstappen finished in, Max Verstappen, won on his debut. But there you go. That is my top 3 predictions for this Spanish Grand Prix. Then after that, I'm going to go Vettel 4th, Leclerc 5th, Gasly 6th, and then Kvyat in P7. After that, no idea. Could be anyone, to be honest. But that's what I'm going for my top 7. Let me know, guys, right now, the live chat, with about 17 minutes to go until lights out at the Circuit de Catalunya. Let me know right now, who do you think will win the 2019 Spanish Grand Prix? Who do you think will finish in second? Who will finish in third, 4th, 5th and 6th? Let me know what will happen in the Spanish Grand Prix, and I'll read out as many predictions as I can. But again, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as I will be live at 6 PM UK time, which is in about 4 hours time, for the review of this very Grand Prix later on. So don't forget to subscribe for that content coming up later on the channel. You can either do it or subscribe by clicking subscribe on the bottom right of the screen, or go to my homepage, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. But before I read out your comments, guys, I'll have a quick drink, and then we'll get on to what you guys have to say in terms of who you think will win and finish on the podium. Right, let's see what you guys have to say. We just move on to a picture of Valtteri Bottas with the DRS open on the pit straight. But let's see what you guys have to say. Let me go to the start of your predictions here. By the way, there will not be rain. If you're watching the track right now, there is absolutely not even a 0% chance of rain. There's a -% chance of rain. Right, let me find the start of the predictions here. Right, Astro Steve, I think is the first one. He says, Bottas to win, Hamilton second, and Charles Leclerc in P3. Dexter Hall says Hamilton will win. Who else have we got here? Michael Arvin says Bottas to win from Lewis Hamilton second, Charles Leclerc third, Max Verstappen P4, Vettel fifth, Gasly sixth, then Kvyat, Ricciardo, and Kimi. Jasmine says Hamilton will win. Tonka Toy Truck says Bottas. D Wade says Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc. Dexter Hall goes on to complete his prediction by saying Hamilton, then Bottas, then Leclerc, Vettel, and Max. Hold on, I just want to read out that comment from Tonka Toy Truck about Roman Grosjean. Oh no, it's not from Tonka Toy Truck, it's from Astro Stevo. Grosjean to reenact last year. Grosjean to reenact last year. Get a job providing smoke screens as special effects. Yeah, hopefully he understands when to give it up in racing, because that was ridiculous last year. Ultraman says Bottas to win from Vettel second, Hamilton third, Max in fourth. Astro Stevo says Bottas from Hamilton, Leclerc. Matthew Felton, have I read this out? No, I don't think I have. Bottas to win from Hamilton second, Verstappen third, then Vettel, then Leclerc, then Gasly, and then he hopes for Alexander Albon. By the way, Mr. Random Guy, Jenson Button is fitting in like a glove on the Sky F1 coverage, as I thought he would anyway. Even though I think he tried to avoid being a TV pundit, he is just made for that role. So there you go. Still I Rise says Bottas from Hamilton, and then third, Mission better win now. WN says Bottas to win. James Donovan says Bottas from Hamilton, and then Sebastian Vettel might be a snoozer up front. It could be, but if we get an exciting start and we get a Mercedes not in one of the first two positions, then I think that'll spice things up and create a very interesting first stint of the Grand Prix. Let me just find some more here. Let me go back to where I left off. There you go. I'm just going to quickly cut to another picture. Here is Sebastian Vettel in that Ferrari SF90. WN then goes on to finish by saying Hamilton will be second and Max will be third. So he thinks the same as me. James Zhu, I think it is, or Zhao. Sorry if I mispronounced that. He says Mercedes 1-2 again. Yeah, it's likely to be that. It really is. Nigel Warswick says, I think Max takes out a Ferrari at turn 1, remaining Ferrari P3, and then Bottas P2 and Hamilton P1. Yeah, it's a possibility. And as we know, by the way, whenever Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen are on the same row of the grid, stuff tends to happen. It always tends to happen. Those two are just magnetically tend to come towards each other all the time, and whenever they do, it tends to be great, and hopefully it is. Jungle Brother says Hamilton to win from Verstappen in second, Leclerc third, Gasly fourth, Magnussen fifth, Ricciardo sixth, Kimi seventh, Grosjean eighth, Kvyat ninth, and Perez 10th, and then Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas, in his opinion, will DNF. Could happen, but the reason, by the way, I never predict a top runner to retire is because it's such a hard thing to predict. Unless you have a McLaren Honda-like situation. Yeah, it's a very hard thing to say, right, that's definitely going to happen. So that's why I never personally do so. But if you guys want to, then go ahead. Prussia says Vettel to win from Bottas second, Hamilton third. I think that's hope more so than expectation. By the way, guys, we have 10 minutes to go until lights out. 10 minutes to go, so don't worry, the race is And let me just put this back up. Forgot to do so. There you go. Race has not started yet. I'll make sure to change that to formation lap when the formation lap gets underway. But yeah, we're 10 minutes away from lights out in Barcelona. Let me find some more predictions here if I can. James Evans says Hamilton to win, from Bottas second, Vettel third, Verstappen fourth, Leclerc fifth, Gasly sixth. So you're predicting basically the same as qualifying for the top six, except for Hamilton winning instead of Bottas. Right, let me find some more if I can. Bottas will win. That's from Harith Zach. Vincent Penske says, I would like Max to take third place in the championship. I'm wondering if that person that just commented that is American, because I know Penske is a very famous name in American racing. Ace Ray, do what you want. It's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Ron Mitchell says Hamilton will take out Bottas in a frustrated overtaking move. It could happen. I don't think it will happen. I'm not saying it will absolutely happen either, but it could if Lewis is frustrated and feels as though he has to get down to the first corner in position 1. Paul M says Verstappen is aggressive, so I wouldn't rule out a crash at the top. I think the only way Max will have a crash is if he sees the opportunity to get into second or first, then he will go for it. Then that might create a crash. So yeah, it really depends on his getaway and how he's looking going down to the first corner. I'll move on to this picture of, I believe this is Pierre Gasly. Could be wrong though. But yeah, we are, what, 8 minutes away from race starting. Dilly Rice says, you might as well study Brugg. Leclerc ain't winning unless Bottas, Hamilton take each other out. I don't think Leclerc would win even if that did happen. I think if that did happen, I'd have to go Max Verstappen to win from the two Ferraris, second and third, which would make it even more of a disaster for Ferrari that they couldn't even capitalise on those two crashing. Kind of like 2016 at the same Grand Prix track. And Astro Stevo asked, even though I just answered it, I think he asked after, or before, sorry. If both Mercedes do crash out, who would win? I'd have to go for Verstappen. I don't think I would go for anything different when it came to that. Unlimited Gamer, if I can speak, says Leclerc for the win. Harith Zach says Bottas can squeeze Hamilton on the main straight to turn 1, then get all the run he can into 2 and 3 and run away with the lead in the race. Dilly Rice says Max will be dangerous this race, literally and figuratively. Can't count him out, right, Shazza? You can't. You cannot. And if you look at the way his season has gone, he has got the best results out of the car that is possible, really. So if he gets a chance, kind of Fernando Alonso, like if he sees an opportunity, he will most likely take it, given how 2019 has gone so far. Air Force Boss, which Renault will DNF today? Probably, knowing Renault, because Hülkenberg is in the pit lane anyway, probably Ricciardo. And it'll happen at a point where Ricciardo looks like he could get a point. That's normally how it works for Renault. I don't want to jinx him, but that's normally how it works. By the way, we are, what, 6 minutes away from the formation lap. So 6 minutes to go, guys. Keep your predictions coming. If you have not put your prediction in the live chat, you've got 6 minutes to go to put yours right in there. And I will read it out until or before the race gets underway. Michael Arvin says if Bottas and Hamilton crash out, Ferrari will finish outside top 5. Max will win the race. Let me find some more comments here if I can. Just trying to find any comments I've missed out. 5th Mercedes 1-2 would be a new record. Yes, that's a Master Stevo. Yes, it's already a record what they're doing, but a 5th would continue their record-setting ways. I think the fourth one too already set a record. I think Williams in 92 had, I think in the first 4 races, if I'm not wrong, they had either 3 or 4 in a row. I think it was 3 though, because I think in the 4th race, Patrese crashed in the wet at the same track, by the way, the Circuit de Catalunya. So if they get 1-2, they definitely are either breaking a record or continuing the record they have already broke. But the F1 intro is now playing, and that means we're only 5 minutes away from lights out in Barcelona. So I'll make sure to get the pictures going in just a moment. Keep your predictions coming, guys, and I'll make sure to read it out with 5 minutes to go until lights out in Barcelona. But yeah, keep them coming. I'm just quickly loading up the Twitter and make sure I've got it all set up correctly so I can get the pictures of the images to you as quickly as possible. By the way, just to let you guys know, in case you're wondering, we do not, of course, show live race footage here. And after what happened last time, I don't think I need to really explain this over and over again. We got copyright last time and we didn't show any race footage, and the company that actually did it, they recognized they were in the wrong. So yeah, we don't show live footage here for obvious copyright issues, or else the channel would be gone in seconds. What I do is basically I have a running order running along the bottom of the screen, which I'll get up in a minute. What I do also is put as many pictures on the screen as I can find from Twitter on the screen of what's going on, so you guys can get a visual of what is exactly going on. And then I provide a radio commentary all throughout the Grand Prix of what is exactly going on. So I'm just saying that to anyone who's new and doesn't understand what we do here. But here is the grid at the moment, with all the team personnel still on the grid. That's when Ferrari and Valtteri Bottas will be pushing to their grid slots. So that was a short time ago. And for the person who was asking, I can't remember who, I think it was Dexter Hull, who asked about the tyre delta difference. According to FOM, it's 0.8 of a second between soft and medium, and then between soft and hard, it's 1.9 seconds. So the hard tyre, not that great for pace, but it will last. But yeah, we are now 3 minutes away from the formation lap, so keep your predictions coming in the live chat. Manu says Bottas to win from Hamilton second, Vettel third, and Max in fourth. Thank you, Michael, for saying that he'd rather take my commentary over watching, or is better than watching the race. And also thank you to Astro Stevo and Tonka Toy Truck. Yep, again, well, now it's not even 3 minutes. We now have 2 minutes to go until lights out. Eve Shillington says Lewis Hamilton 44 all the way. Kyle Greenwald says I took Bottas to win the last race. No problem, Dexter Hall. But that, by the way, that information, it won't be exactly correct. That's just a prediction of what the tyres, or what the difference in the tyres are based on information from the supplier, which of course is Pirelli. But now we are about 1 minute away from formation lap, and I think now it's best we get that running order going. Let me just quickly make one change to it, which is replacing Kubica and Giovinazzi. By the way, the reason Russell doesn't move up is because he also had a penalty, I think a gearbox penalty as well. So that running order, running along the bottom of your screen, is not the live order of the race, because the race, of course, as you can see in the top left, has not started yet, but that is the starting grid in Barcelona. Yet we are moments away from the formation lap here in Catalonia, as the, I think, Fly Emirates lady is waving the green flag, meaning formation lap about to start. If you've got any final comments, guys, make sure to put them in the comments. By the way, let me just rewind because I missed the tyre info there. Norris, Albon, Sainz and Ricciardo are on soft tyres. Kimi Raikkonen starts on the medium. Perez is on soft tyres. Stroll and Kubica are on mediums. Russell and Hülkenberg are on mediums. And Giovinazzi is on soft tyres. So everyone on soft tyres bar 5 drivers. That's quite interesting. I didn't expect that. That might point towards a guaranteed 2-stop strategy. But now, guys, the formation lap is underway and the race will start in about 2 minutes from now. Because, of course, on the formation lap, they're not going at full speed. They're trying to make sure their tyres and brakes are at the optimum temperature going in to the start of the Grand Prix. So let me just quickly update this text. So, and by the way, I will, as many times as I can, when I have the chance to, when I have enough time to, I will update the order as much as I can. But also, I will make sure as many times as I can to let you know which lap it is. I won't be able to do it every single lap, but say every 5 at most, I will let you know what lap we are working on. By the way, great to see 516 of you here. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as we do this every race weekend. We're doing it for Monaco in 2 weeks' time, so don't forget to subscribe for that content coming up on the channel. You can go to my homepage and subscribe and hit the notifications bell, or do it on the bottom right of the screen. There are the Carlos Sainz fans looking very, very passionate for their home driver. Of course, Fernando Alonso no longer around in Formula 1, so they've got to support someone different. And that's who they've now got to support. Of course, he's the only home driver on the grid. As now, the drivers are... and by the way, Ace Ray, I can't yet add a lap counter because I tried to do it for Bahrain, but it actually failed massively because yeah, I didn't have enough time to update it, and when I was updating it, it was always late in terms of when I was updating it. But here comes Valtteri Bottas into the final corner, and now the start of the Grand Prix will be momentarily in Barcelona, as Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen, Leclerc all come onto the pit straight. Can Valtteri Bottas win his 3rd race of 2019, and can he extend his World Championship lead as Max Verstappen goes past his yellow allotted line there on the grid? Can Valtteri Bottas extend his lead in the World Championship? Let's find out in a few moments' time. So here we go. The race is about to start. I'll just quickly put this as it's about to start. The green flag goes, and now the race is about to start. It's 2 lights, it's 3 lights, it's 4, it's 5. The European season gets underway now, as Lewis Hamilton gets a great start and is ahead for the moment of Valtteri Bottas as Lewis Hamilton beat him down to turn 1. Here comes Vettel around the outside. Sebastian Vettel, can he go around the outside? No, he's locked up. He's locked up. And Bottas losing the rear end. Leclerc having a go around the outside of Vettel, but doesn't do it. Verstappen pulls around Leclerc. Verstappen's going right around the outside of Vettel. He has. Verstappen has gone right round the outside of Sebastian Vettel at turn 3. That's Fernando Alonso style right there. As Gasly and the Haas there of, that's Romain Grosjean side by side down into turn 5. But it's Hamilton who leads from Bottas 2nd, Verstappen 3rd with an incredible move around the outside at 3 as Verstappen now already pulling away from Sebastian Vettel. And there you go, that is the start so far, as Hamilton already pulling a gap to Bottas. That's not what Valtteri needed, but Lewis just about got the start he needed. And Verstappen, by the way, already pulling onto the back of Bottas. So the Red Bull Max Verstappen looking very quick as they now come in to the Mickey Mouse section around the back. As they now come on to the start of the second lap, the end of the first lap. Hamilton leads from Bottas second, Verstappen third, Vettel fourth, Leclerc fifth, Gasly sixth, Grosjean, then Magnussen, then Kvyat and Albon. The Toro Rosso had a great start, then Sainz, Ricciardo, Perez, Stroll, Giovinazzi, Norris. Terrible start. Hülkenberg is in 17th, and it's the two Williamses of Kubica and Russell, and then Kimi Räikkönen at the back. Here's a picture from the track, and now that the order has settled down, let me quickly, as Lewis Hamilton already has a 2-second lead over Valtteri Bottas, as we're only halfway through lap 2. But yeah, Hamilton is now in the lead. I'll just quickly do the order. Verstappen is third. By the way, Sebastian Vettel's tyres are going to be badly worn after that bad lockup on the outside of turn 1. Vettel is now third, and then you got Leclerc fifth, Gasly sixth, Grosjean, Magnussen, Kvyat. Then Alexander Albon is P10. That's good for them. Very good for them. And then you got Carlos Sainz, who's gained a position. Ricciardo has gained a position in the Renault, about to say the Red Bull then. Perez and Stroll having a good start as Lewis Hamilton comes across and sets a new fastest lap. Not for long though, as Bottas goes faster. So Bottas coming back at Lewis Hamilton. But yeah, Perez is 13th. 14th is Stroll. And then in 15th, Antonio Giovinazzi. That's a good start for him. Terrible though for Lando Norris, who is currently, as a DRS is now enabled, he's currently Norris in P16, and he started P10. Must have had some kind of contact. I might as well, for the moment, put Kimi Räikkönen in 18th because he's behind the two Williamses and he will pass them, I think, quite easily. Actually, no, I'll keep it as it is. So Kubica, Russell, and then Kimi Räikkönen. So the live order of the race on lap 3 is the order running along the bottom of your screen. It's Hamilton. From Bottas, then Verstappen, then Vettel, Leclerc, Gasly, Grosjean, Magnussen, Kvyat, Albon, Sainz, Ricciardo, Perez, Stroll, Giovinazzi, Norris, Hülkenberg, Kubica, Russell, and Räikkönen. As Valtteri Bottas is still closing in on Lewis Hamilton. He's took another 1/10 of a second out of the Brit so far. Here's another picture of what was going down at turn 1 as Bottas does a new fastest lap, a 1:23 flat. And Mercedes already starting to drop Max Verstappen, even though Verstappen's not dropping off massively, but the Ferraris are definitely dropping off massively. As Ricciardo having a look there at Carlos Sainz. But here you go. Here is a replay of the start. Here's an image on your screen of the run down to turn 1. Vettel tried to be ambitious, go around the outside at turn 1, but there wasn't enough grip, went wide and blew his chance of getting into P2. But Max Verstappen pulling an insane overtake on Sebastian Vettel. Let's see it now. So Verstappen undercuts Leclerc through the corner and then just drives straight around Vettel like Vettel has no grip compared to him. That's incredible. He just drove straight around him like he wasn't even there. Here's a replay. So I think Leclerc passed Max down to turn 1 because of the extra straight line speed. That's Vettel's lockup. And here's Leclerc running outside. Vettel blocks him out. Leclerc has to lift, and then Max just goes straight around the outside of Vettel like he's not even there. That's a great move by Max and just proves how he's been so good this season. Here's Räikkönen, who is now into 19th apparently. Oh, no grip in turn 4, went into the gravel. So I think just went too deep into the corner, maybe expecting more grip. Or Bottas almost touched Hamilton's rear tyre with his front wing there. But I think Kimi was expecting more grip in that corner than there actually was. Kimi Räikkönen is now, I was going to say 19th, he's now up to 18th. He's passed Robert Kubica. As Lewis Hamilton on lap 5 has done a 22.7, a new fastest lap for the Brit. As Kubica is 19th and now Russell is in 20th. So the order running along the bottom of your screen right now is the current order from Catalonia. And now we wait to see really who pits first, because there's no one really on track which is that close to each other. The closest battle is Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz for P11. Ricciardo is about 3/4 of a second behind Sainz. Now about half a second. So Ricciardo and Sainz is the biggest battle for now. Hamilton, now Bottas is a new fastest lap. The Mercedes cars are pulling away so quickly. They're doing fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap. As Bottas does a 22.6, Hamilton did a 22.6 as well, but not as quick as Bottas is 22.6. As here is live with Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz down to turn 1. Sainz defends the inside. Ricciardo will cut back. But through here, you just cannot get enough grip on your front end to really follow that great. But you can definitely tell Ricciardo can go faster than Carlos Sainz right now. So looking good for Ricciardo and looking better for Renault, 12th and 17th for now. And Ricciardo looks as though he could be making a move for Carlos Sainz pretty soon. Most likely down into turn number 1. Yeah, the gap at out front on lap 6 is remaining at 2 seconds. Hamilton ahead of Valtteri Bottas. And then Verstappen is about 4 seconds off the lead. And then you got Vettel, who is 6.3 off the lead. And I have to say, and it's not really a surprise, the Ferraris in terms of race pace are miles off the pace, as Lewis Hamilton has just done a 22.3. Compared to everyone else, that's a stunning time. The 22.3 for Hamilton. But yeah, Ferrari are losing a second a lap to the leader. That is monumental. And here comes Ricciardo again. Will he go for the move on Carlos Sainz? No, not close enough. If he was maybe 1/4 of a second closer, he would have gone for it. But he was not close enough. Let me just quickly get this picture on screen as Antonio Giovinazzi goes from soft to hard tyres. Now let's see whether these hard tyres are the tyres to be on. That's lap 7 he's pitted on. But yeah, here's another picture of the current order. Hamilton from Bottas, Verstappen, Vettel, Leclerc. By the way, similar to China, but roles reversed, Charles Leclerc is faster than Sebastian Vettel, and I think Leclerc is being held up a bit. Will Ferrari let Leclerc through, or will they confirm here and now that Vettel is number 1? It's going to be interesting to see, as Lewis Hamilton, another fastest lap, a 1:22.2 for Lewis Hamilton. The pace out front is mega. And Leclerc getting a run on Sebastian Vettel down to turn 1. Oh, Leclerc feigning for a move. I think Ferrari have got to swap positions here because Leclerc is faster than Vettel. And I hope Ferrari are not telling. There is Matteo Binotto. And here we go. Team orders once again in Formula 1. But I think they've got to get Leclerc ahead of Vettel. Vettel is quite clearly slower than Charles Leclerc right now. Leclerc is definitely the faster driver. As let me just quickly update the order now that Antonio Giovinazzi has come into the pits. So you've got Norris now to P15. Then you've got Nico Hülkenberg P16. Kimi Räikkönen P17, as Leclerc is staying close to his teammate. Kubica is 18th, and then it's Russell in 19th, and then at the back, because he's pitted for a new set of hard tyres, I believe, Antonio Giovinazzi. So that is the current order on lap 9 out of 66. But what are Ferrari going to do then? Are they going to let Charles through, or are they going to just let Charles sit behind what they think is the team leader of Ferrari? I will say though, I think Ferrari's pace, I don't know if Vettel's got to hurry up, but Ferrari's pace has improved from what it was a couple laps ago. They're not losing as much time to Lewis Hamilton out front like they were about 2 or 3 laps ago. So I think the pace has improved at Ferrari. But I think Leclerc here is definitely the faster driver. And, well, could Leclerc catch Max? Well, they would have a better chance of doing so if they let Leclerc through. And you'd have to say, considering where they are right now in the race, they might as well swap positions and send Charles Leclerc after Max Verstappen. Doesn't really make any sense what they're doing here. Yeah, Vettel is about, what, 3/4 of a second ahead of Leclerc. And I think Leclerc is definitely losing time. He could go faster than what he is right now. He probably could go, I don't know, 1/3 of a second faster. As Lewis Hamilton now dips into the 121s, he's making a mockery of the field on lap 10. As he's now 2.8 clear of his teammate. We have 121.9. By the way, I've missed 2 super chats. Says Charles Leclerc down the inside of Sebastian Vettel. No, he doesn't go for it down into turn 1. He almost did. And Ferrari have got to swap positions here. They have to. They're losing time. They're losing time here. They just lost about half a second doing that. I wouldn't say stupid, but considering they're a team, bit of a stupid maneuver. What are Ferrari doing? They've got to get Leclerc ahead of Vettel. It makes no sense at this point to keep Leclerc behind. Right, let me just read out these super chats. Still I Rise, he sends in 2 super chats. One for 5 says hammer time, let's go. And then another one for $2 saying gang gang. Thank you very much, Still I Rise. But yeah, what are Ferrari doing here? I mean, it's pretty obvious that Leclerc's faster. He almost went for it down into turn 1. I think he might have done so if it wasn't his teammate. And I think this is again going to show whether Ferrari have actually improved when it comes to their running of the team. Because if they're running a fair thing at Ferrari, then they've got to let Leclerc come through, because Leclerc is definitely the faster driver here. There's no doubt about that. As we're now on lap 11, Leclerc gets DRS and slipstream again down to turn 1, but is too far back for a move. But I tell you, if he can get 1/4 of a second closer out of that final corner, he might be able to force Vettel to defend. Might be able to do that. But at the moment, the order has remained exactly the same. Actually, I'm wrong on that. I'll do it in a moment. Hulkenberg, out of camera, has passed Lando Norris. So Nico Hulkenberg is P15 in the Renault on the medium compound tyres, so looking good for him. Here is Ricciardo on Sainz earlier on. Still very close between the two. Only half a second separating them. So if we weren't watching the battle at Ferrari, we would have been watching that. But yeah, let me just quickly put Hulkenberg in P15 and then Carlos Sainz. Lando Norris in P16. That's the Verstappen army. And you have to say Max is having a good race. He's only 6.5 seconds off the lead. He's about 3.5 behind Bottas, and he is looking very good. And definitely, as I was been saying before the race, the Red Bull is faster than the Ferrari in race pace. You can definitely see that. As here comes Charles Leclerc. Is Vettel letting him through? Yes, he is. Sebastian Vettel lets Charles Leclerc through, and that is the right decision by Ferrari. Leclerc clearly faster, and I hope that puts to bed the whole Ferrari are trying to sabotage Charles Leclerc claims, because, well, even though they should have done it earlier, at least they did it. Because I was getting a feeling Ferrari were going to let it sit there as it is. But let me just get a picture on screen, actually, of what it was like a minute ago. This was Leclerc having a look at Vettel. And now, by the way, is already 1.5 seconds clear of Vettel. after he passed him. So Leclerc clearly has the better car. And Vettel, you have to say, is completely out of this Grand Prix. Alan Giao, I think it is just send in a super chat. Says, get in there, Lewis. Thank you for that. But, yeah, Leclerc already, how far ahead is he? Almost 2 seconds clear of Vettel. Leclerc might set the fastest lap of the race here. No, he hasn't, but I'm pretty sure it was very quick. But Vettel has no speed whatsoever. No speed at all. He is losing after the first 13 laps. He's, what, 13 and a half seconds down. He is a second a lap slower than the leader. A second a lap. That is a lot to be losing after just 13 laps in a 66 lap race. But what do we have now? Ricciardo is still closely following Carlos Sainz. You have to wonder, when will Renault pit Ricciardo to undercut past Sainz? Because he's definitely being held up, and I think Ricciardo could get in there with the Toro Rossos if he was not being held up by Carlos Sainz. So you have to wonder, when are Renault going to pull the trigger for a pit stop? But there you go. And by the way, I think Vettel is actually being closed in on by Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly is about 2.8 seconds behind, I believe, as Lewis Hamilton does a new fastest lap, a 21.9 again, but it's a bit lower than it was the previous time, I think by about 0.03 of a second. Actually, I've just forgot. Sorry, guys, I just forgot. I need to update Leclerc ahead of Vettel. So, there you go. Leclerc ahead of Vettel. Sorry about that, guys, but I was paying attention to the TV, which I have to do, of course. It is hard doing this. But there you go. So yeah, lap 14, Hamilton leads from Bottas in second. And then here comes Daniel Ricciardo down into turn 1. No, doesn't go for the move. Carlos Sainz just about ahead. But yeah, Hamilton on lap 14 leads from Valtteri Bottas second. Max Verstappen is third. Charles Leclerc is fourth. Vettel is fifth. And then it's Gasly, Grosjean, Magnussen, Kvyat, Albon, Sainz, Ricciardo, Perez, Stroll, and then Hülkenberg, Norris, Raikkonen, Russell, Kubica, and Giovinazzi. So let me just quickly put Russell ahead of Kubica on my running order. So there you go, Russell ahead of Robert Kubica. Yep, that's the order on now lap 15 out of 66. At this rate, by the way, Sebastian Vettel is going to end up over a minute behind at the end of this race if he continues to lose the amount of time that he is to the leader. He could end up being lapped if he really gets even worse from now. Ace Ray asks, anyone bet Bottas can catch Lewis? I don't think he can. Lewis is comfortable out front, setting fastest laps all the time. I think this is Lewis's race to lose. Lewis Hamilton is virtually guaranteed to win unless there's a catastrophe with his car. As Ricciardo again closing on Sainz, but again not close enough. And you again have to wonder, when are Renault going to pit Ricciardo to get ahead of Sainz, because he's losing time? And you know what? If he does pit, he will come out in clean air, quite clean air compared to where everyone else is behind him. And he could get near the Toro Rossos if he does an undercut. So Ricciardo should be pitted, I think, right now. But let me, I don't know what F1 is showing here. They're just showing the tarmac for some reason. But here is when Leclerc was let through by Sebastian Vettel. And by the way, I think this race is definitely going to be a one-stop from now. The tyres are looking pretty good, as Lewis Hamilton does a 1:21.7. Another new fastest lap. Lewis showing why exactly he is a 5 times world champion, as he's absolutely slaughtering the field. By the way, Sebastian Vettel's fastest lap time in the race so far is 1 second slower, or now 1.2 seconds slower than Lewis's best lap time. That's how far off the pace Sebastian Vettel is, and how far off the pace really Ferrari are. But here is Max Verstappen on board. People wanting Ricciardo to pit. He should pit. It's pretty obvious. He has to pit. He's being held up, and he can have I think a better race result if they pit him now and undercut. I don't think pitting after Sainz does is going to work out. But right now it seems as though everyone is waiting around for the other team to pit. As Hamilton on lap about to be 17. Yep, there you go. Lap 17. Hamilton is 4 seconds clear of Bottas, and then Verstappen is 10.5 off the lead. So Verstappen is losing about half a second a lap to the leader. There's Vettel, that's his front right, which I think locked up on lap 1. So that's probably why he's so slow. But then Leclerc's losing about 3/4 of a second a lap. And then you got Vettel, who's about a second a lap off the pace. And that's being generous. You could argue that he's even slower than that. Maybe 1.2 seconds off the pace. Sebastian is nowhere in this Grand Prix. He's almost half a pit stop. Actually, he is half a pit stop behind Max Verstappen, who is in third. I think Ferrari need to pit Vettel and put him on a 2-stop because that tyre looks horrible and his pace is horrible. So yeah, Ferrari, I think with Vettel need to pit. I think Ricciardo does need to pit. Ricciardo actually has fell over a second behind Sainz. So maybe Ricciardo's more worn soft tyres have faded away now. By the way though, Kvyat and Albon are still doing well. Kvyat and Albon are only, 3 seconds behind Kevin Magnussen, who's 8th. And I will say, Haas are looking pretty good. Romain Grosjean is about 5, almost 6 seconds clear of Danny Kvyat in P9, and he's about 3.5 clear of his teammate Kevin Magnussen. So Romain Grosjean looking very quick. As who's this? This is Vettel ahead of Gasly. Gasly is now about 2.8, 2.9 seconds behind. Gasly was actually faster on that lap, and Sebastian Vettel just did a 23.8. That's a shocking time. That's 2 seconds off the fastest lap. That's 2 seconds away from the fastest lap time. That's awful. And he's now a pit stop behind Lewis Hamilton after 18 laps. Awful, awful speed. Gasly isn't massively catching Vettel, but if Gasly can really up his speed, then I think Gasly could beat Vettel in this Grand Prix, because Sebastian has no speed whatsoever, as already Lewis Hamilton has lapped Antonio Giovinazzi after 18 laps. That just shows you the speed that car has, and he will be onto the Williams of Robert Kubica and also George Russell in just a moment. This will feel like a win for Williams at this pace. You have to remember, I think one of the Williams is on soft tyres and one of the others is on mediums, as Hamilton goes through Kubica. And Antonio Giovinazzi is right behind Kubica now, so he'll pass him soon. But yeah, Vettel continues to lose tons of lap time. I mean, Sebastian Vettel, after 19 laps, is only 12 seconds clear of Romain Grosjean. So that's only, half a second a lap? 0.6 of a second a lap? He's faster than the Haas. That's how really slow Sebastian Vettel is. But yeah, there you go. I wish I could say that something exciting is going on, but right now we have a stalemate in this Grand Prix. The current order running along the bottom of the screen is the current order, and it doesn't look like being different anytime soon, as we are now on lap 20 out of 66, as Lewis Hamilton is about to lap 18th place George Russell. and he does so right now. And Hamilton with that DRS, that'll help him to do probably another fastest lap on this lap, as here comes a Ferrari of probably Sebastian Vettel. Yep, here he comes. Sebastian Vettel comes in for a set of medium tyres. He can barely turn into the pit lane. And he locks up on the pit entry. Hopefully he didn't speed, but that just shows you the lack of speed Vettel has had today. Comes in, medium tyres, and there's a delay on the left front. That was about 3 seconds slower than it needed to be. Actually, not 3 seconds, probably 2.5, but there you go. Grosjean now gets ahead of Vettel, so does Magnussen, and he will actually come out in traffic behind the Toro Rossos. Sebastian Vettel's day gets worse and worse. So let me quickly update the order. So Gasly is now P5. P6 is Romain Grosjean. P7 is Kevin Magnussen. I tell you, if Vettel is on a 2-stop, he might not even finish amongst the top teams. That's how slow Vettel has been. He's 47.5 off the lead, but has, of course, just pitted. Kvyat is now P8. Hamilton does a new fastest lap. I don't know what it is, though. We'll see in a moment, as in comes Max Verstappen, I believe, as, yeah, it is. Lewis Hamilton does a 1:21.5. Here comes Max Verstappen to go onto the, what tyres is that? Another set of soft tyres. So Max is committing to a 2-stop strategy in this Grand Prix. That is going to make things very interesting. And he will come out ahead of Romain Grosjean, so that's good for him. So Leclerc now gets up to 3rd. Red Bull would probably be best splitting their strategy and going a 1 stop on Gasly and a 2 on Max. Max absolutely has to do 2 pit stops because he has not yet used a different set of tyres. So Gasly's now P4. Verstappen drops back to P5 with that pit stop. Vettel has just passed Albon, probably down the pit straight. And then Albon now drops back to P10. Who else is moving around? Giovinazzi has passed Kubica. By the way, lap 21 out of 66. We're still nowhere near halfway through this Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas, by the way, is now 7.5 seconds off the lead. I think Bottas is starting to struggle on his tyres. Giovinazzi 19th. 20th is Robert Kubica. By the way, Giovinazzi pitted early on for hard tyres. He's going to go to the end, I think, on that set. But I'm now going to find a different picture for you guys, as Max, I'm sure, will start to set some very quick lap times, because he needs to push really hard now in this stint. Because if you're on a 2-stop, you've got to push harder to get the gaps to certain people so you don't get traffic. He's currently, as Kvyat has just pitted, he's currently about 12 seconds clear of Sebastian Vettel. So he should be covered, should Vettel. But let me just get this picture on screen of Vettel when he had the soft tyres on. You can see his tyres were not in good condition. Kvyat has pitted, as I just said, and has come out in 17th place. So Sebastian Vettel is up to P8. I think, by the way, Vettel will be doing a 2-stop as well because he has such bad tyre wear. So Albon is now P9. 10th is Carlos Sainz. Ricciardo still has not pitted. I think they should pit him, to be honest. He's what? 1.5 seconds behind. So Ricciardo P11, P12. Perez. Racing Point are not looking too bad. Not looking too bad at the moment. Here comes Pierre Gasly. Into the pits. Hulkenberg is now to 14th. 15th as Gasly goes onto medium tyres. That was not the quickest pit stop you'll ever see. Probably a second slower than it should have been. Hulkenberg is 14th, and then it's Norris in 15th. And then Kimi Raikkonen in 16th. And then in 17th place, as Gasly vitally gets out ahead of Carlos Sainz. That's vital for his Grand Prix. And Gasly is quite a bit behind Vettel, but has fresher tyres now. Kvyat has dropped back to I was going to say P16, but Stroll has just pitted. Let me just redo the order quick. So Verstappen, now P4. P5 is Roman Grosjean, and then P6 is Kevin Magnussen. P7, Vettel, as Vettel now closes up closely to Kevin Magnussen, and then you got Albon in 9th. And then, who is it? Gasly. Oh no, Albon 8th, Gasly 9th. Then it is Sainz, Ricciardo, Perez. Now Hülkenberg, who is on the medium tyres, by the way, started from the pit lane. As the Haas pits. So Norris is P14. P15 is Kimi Raikkonen. And P16, Kvyat, then Stroll, then it is now Giovinazzi ahead of Russell as Magnussen comes into the pits, puts on a set of medium tyres and comes out. So I'm just trying to make sure I get the order correct here, guys, so you guys know what the exact order is, because I want you guys to be able to know. So Magnussen, and who is that? That's Raikkonen, trying to avoid being passed by Kvyat. Kvyat wasn't that far behind Magnussen. And will Kvyat go around the outside at turn 3? No, he won't. But will he go for it down to turn 4? Just positions his car around the outside. He's going to go right around the outside. Great move by Danny Kvyat. That's more like it. That's the Danny Kvyat we all know that can be a very good driver. Great move. Vettel is now P6, by the way, because Kevin Magnussen has pitted. And then you got now Albon, P7, and then it's Gasly, Carlos Sainz. In 9th, Ricciardo now jumps up to P10. And then P11 is Sergio Perez. Then it's Hülkenberg. Then it is, I believe, yeah, it is. It's Lando Norris, P13. Then it's Magnussen. As Ricciardo finally passes Carlos Sainz down to turn 1, round the outside. Good move by Ricciardo. So Ricciardo and Sainz have just pitted, by the way. So the order is all over the place at the moment. Sorry if it's changing all the time, but that is what is literally going on. It is changing all the time. So they pitted as now Hamilton laps Carlos Sainz. That's quite embarrassing, but that just shows you how quick that car is. Hülkenberg is now up to 9th. Got Norris now in P10. Kevin Magnussen is P11 as Charles Leclerc pits. I'll cover that in a moment. Kvyat is P12. 13th is Kimi Raikkonen, who has not pitted yet. And then you got Ricciardo and Sainz 14th and 15th. And then in 16th is Perez, 17th is Stroll, and then you got Giovinazzi, Russell, Kubica. But with Leclerc pitting, Leclerc only just beats out Vettel, and Leclerc goes onto the hard compound tyre. So that's interesting. Interesting to see how they've gone for that tyre. By the way, Roman Grosjean is P4 and has not pitted yet. Looking very good for Roman. He's had a good Grand Prix so far. But, right, that order now, I was about to say that's the current order, but it's not because Albon has just pitted. Here's a replay, though, of Charles Leclerc pitting from soft to hard. Again, slow pit stop on the left rear. As Valtteri Bottas comes in, he will rejoin in second place, so I don't have to worry about changing the order again. So Gasly, now that Albon pits, goes up to P7. P8 is Nico Hülkenberg, who has not pitted yet. And then you've got Magnussen, then Norris, then Kvyat and Raikkonen in P11 and P12 respectively, as Valtteri Bottas rejoins not that far ahead of Verstappen, who's on the softs, as Grosjean now pits. And by the way, Carlos Sainz has passed Ricciardo again. So Carlos Sainz has got back past Daniel Ricciardo somewhere. I don't know where, but he has. Sainz 14th, Ricciardo 15th, and then the rest of the field is not quite done yet because Grosjean's pitted. So Leclerc P4, Vettel is now P5, and then Gasly is P6 as Norris now pits. And then you've got Grosjean, who has come back out where he was in the first stint anyway, which is P7. As what are they looking at down there? Oh, it's a pit stop of Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton comes into the pits, and he will now come out in the lead. He will not be threatened from behind. So Kvyat is in P10, and then you got now Raikkonen P11 with Albon's not Albon, Norris's pit stop. Albon is P12. Then it is Sainz and Ricciardo 13th and 14th. Ricciardo is literally just being sentenced to being behind the Renault, being behind the McLaren rather. You got Perez in 15th. Stroll is now on soft tyres in 16th, and then you got Norris down in P17. Lando Norris, I think, is in for an awful Grand Prix, to be honest. But there you go, and that is finally the current order at the track. Took me long enough, but with all the pit stops, that's now the order. Not everyone has pitted. Kimi Raikkonen is not pitted. I don't think the two Williamses have pitted. And Nico Hülkenberg also has not pitted. But let me show you the end of that move between Danny Kvyat and Kimi Raikkonen. And here is how... no, that's Grosjean passing Hülkenberg. I thought Grosjean was ahead of him anyway. That's weird. I don't know why he had to repass him. I thought he was ahead anyway. But here you go. That's when... Kvyat got past Kimi Raikkonen. So we're now on lap 29 out of 66. Everyone is pitted except for the two Williamses, Kimi Raikkonen and Nico Hülkenberg. And your order is Hamilton leading from Bottas 2nd, Verstappen 3rd, Leclerc 4th, Vettel 5th, Gasly 6th. Then it is Grosjean, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Kvyat, Albon, Raikkonen, Sainz, Ricciardo, Perez, Stroll, Norris, Giovinazzi, Rosso and Kubica. Giovinazzi's gamble has not paid off unless everyone ahead is on a 2-stop, but I don't think they will be. But there you go. But now, yeah, we're on lap 29. It'll be lap 30 in a moment. So the halfway point of this Grand Prix is in about 3 laps' time. Let me just find, if I can, a different picture. If there's any different pictures out there that I can put on the screen for you guys. No, I can't at the moment. There's no different pictures, but there you go. But whilst this is going on, if you want to post any comments or super chats or whatever, make sure to do so in the live chat. I'll read it out. Because right now we are in a bit of a lull, even though Sebastian Vettel is now within a second of Charles Leclerc. Now, Vettel is on mediums, Leclerc is on the hard. So, are Ferrari going to have to do the same thing again? I think they might have to, as Valtteri Bottas does a 20.8. He is 8.7 seconds behind his teammate, but Vettel has launched right onto the back of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc now losing bags of time to Max Verstappen. So I think Ferrari are going to have to do the same thing again. They're going to have to put Vettel ahead of Leclerc. Was that blue smoke I saw? No, I think I was just seeing things. I thought I saw blue smoke from the rear of Leclerc's car. I think they're going to have to swap positions again because, let's be honest, it's the same kind of gap. And I think Vettel is being held up right now. And I think they should allow Vettel through pretty soon because I think Vettel will be able to hang on. And there you go, DRS open, so Sebastian able to close in. But you have to say, still a disaster for Ferrari. They are miles off the lead. Not as far off the lead as I thought they would be by this point in the Grand Prix, but they are still miles off the lead. As Leclerc is just under a second, and now just over a second, ahead of his teammate Sebastian Vettel, who does have, I believe, DRS down to turn 1. He does, but is too far behind to use it in a way to pass. By the way, Kyle Greenwald, the fastest lap time is Valtteri Bottas on a 120.8. New super chat for $4.99 by Bobby Pinar, someone who's very frequent in the Discord. Great to have you along as always, mate. He asks, do you think Max can get third with 2 stops? It's difficult to say. It depends on what Ferrari do here with the team orders. If Ferrari keep it as it is, I think Verstappen will definitely get third. But at the moment, if Vettel gets let through, I think it might be a bit of a difficult thing for him to do. But I think Sebastian might also be on 2 stops. I think Charles Leclerc is going to be on a 1-stop strategy from now on. So I think Max will have to pass someone if he does have to at the end of the race. I just don't know if it'll be both Ferraris or one of them. I'm leaning at the moment towards one of them. But yeah, Leclerc still ahead of Vettel, only by about half a second though. I still think Ferrari here have to let Vettel past. By the way, lap 32 out of 66, and Ferrari at the moment are about a pit stop off the lead. So they're not as far behind as it could have been. It could be worse, but it's still pretty bad to be that far behind. They're about 22 seconds off the lead. That's pretty bad. Michael Arvin says, and I think that's probably true, I think Charles is definitely on the 1-stop, but I think Vettel is probably on a 2-stop. And that's why also Vettel has to be let through, because if you're going to do an extra pit stop than someone else, you have to have clean air to utilise your fresher and softer tyres. But Vettel cannot do that because his teammate is holding him up. So from a team point of view, they're shooting themselves in the foot right now by not instructing Charles Leclerc to move out the way for Sebastian Vettel. Now, you may say, will Leclerc listen? Maybe not, but I think the right call is Vettel ahead of Leclerc right now. And DRS open, will Leclerc let him through? No, he's going to defend. Oh, this is not good for Ferrari. They're basically blowing their own chances here. They've got to move Leclerc out the way. Vettel is clearly faster. Better tyres, faster tyres. And right now at this stage in the Grand Prix, Vettel is faster. By the way though, I've just noticed that the running order is slightly different because Kimi Räikkönen has finally come into the pits. So let me just quickly redo the order. So Kvyat is 10th, Albon is 11th, as Kevin Magnussen has finally got past Nico Hülkenberg, so I'll update that in a moment. And then you got 12th is Sainz, and Daniel Ricciardo is in 13th, and then in 14th is and Kvyat has just passed Hülkenberg as well. Perez is 14th. And then you got Stroll in 15th. Then it's Norris in 16th. By the way, Alfa are having a terrible Grand Prix. They're 17th and 18th at the moment. That is an absolute shocker. Right, Raikkonen 17th, and then Hülkenberg has dropped down to 10th. So let me just quickly update that. Magnussen is 8th. 9th is Kvyat, and only just over a second behind. But by the way, I believe George Russell has an issue, because I think he's been in the pits for quite a long time. Unless he's only just entered the pits, I don't know. But yeah, there you go. 9th, Kvyat, and then 10th for now, Hülkenberg, who still has not pitted yet. Russell was just coming in for a pit stop, so I misread that. Sorry about that. Hülkenberg is P10. So that is your live order at the Spanish Grand Prix, and we are currently working off lap 35 out of 66. So just under half of the Grand Prix to go until the end, and Ferrari continue to shoot themselves in the foot by keeping Leclerc ahead of Vettel, because Vettel is able to stay with Leclerc quite easily, but also Vettel is being held up in the dirty air. You can clearly see that. I think Vettel could go quite a bit faster. Look at Leclerc when he was let go by Vettel earlier. Leclerc pulled ahead massively. Just so you guys know, a couple of people confused. We are on lap 35 out of 66, not 33. It's lap 35. By the way, the track temperature is very hot. It's 40 degrees Celsius. That's 104 Fahrenheit for you people in the United States. And here comes Vettel through turn 9. Behind Leclerc, about 3/4 of a second behind Leclerc. By the way, again, I can't put a lap counter for now because I've tried to do it and I wasn't able to do it because it was too hard to do with, I have to do the running order, get pictures, do the commentary, watch the TV. It's too much to do. And by the way, remember, I'm doing it all on myself. So please remember that. But yeah, the closest battle on track is Leclerc and Vettel for P4, as Valtteri Bottas is currently in second, 8.5 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. The reason I'm mentioning that is because they showed him for a moment, and again Vettel closing on Leclerc, but they're not letting him through. I don't understand what Ferrari are doing. They're just losing more time. I don't get what Ferrari are doing here. I don't get it. And there you go. Leclerc lets Vettel through around turn 4. So Leclerc letting Vettel through on the exit of 4 going into 5. So now Vettel is let go and can now go for it. So let me just quickly update Vettel ahead of Charles Leclerc. Vettel already is pulling ahead of Leclerc quite quickly, as Nico Hülkenberg comes in for his one and only pit stop on lap 36, or about now it's lap 37 out of 66. So Hülkenberg is currently dropping back. So let me just do the order again. Again, lap 37 out of 66. And the order really in the top 5, or top 10 rather, is basically the same as it was when the pit stop started to happen, except Vettel is now ahead of Leclerc because of team orders. So basically the opposite happened. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, Albon is 10th, and then in P11 is Carlos Sainz. P12, Daniel Ricciardo. P13 is Perez, and P14 is Lance Stroll. Just quickly do that. By the way, in the live chat, guys, let me know what you think about those team orders from Ferrari. Do you agree or do you disagree with what Ferrari did? Let me know right now in the live chat, and I'll read out what you have to say on it. Your, live reaction to it. Norris is P15, so Norris has jumped Hülkenberg. That's important for Norris, but Hülkenberg will now be on fresh tyres. I've just seen a mistake on my running order. Hold on a minute. There you go. Hulkenberg is 16th, and then it is Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Rosso, and Kubica at the back. So, and let me just try and quickly get a picture of the Ferraris as Lewis Hamilton laps Lance Stroll in 14th place. Here is Danny Kvyat passing Kevin Magnussen for P8. Kvyat on a roll, and he passes Magnussen. That is a vital move for this Grand Prix. Vital by Kvyat. So I'll update that in a moment. But and by the way, he's already 2 seconds clear of Grosjean. So Kvyat looking very strong. Can he get after Romain Grosjean before the race finishes in what? 28 laps time? Let me just get this picture on the screen for you guys of Sebastian Vettel on the medium compound tyres. Here you go. That's in turn 10. And currently he's in P4 and trying to catch Max Verstappen now that he has that clean air. But yeah, let me just update that. So Kvyat is P8, and then P9 is not Nico Hulkenberg, Kevin Magnussen. Lewis Hamilton now laps Sergio Perez. A lot of people are going to get lapped in this Grand Prix. We're only just over halfway. But yeah, there you go. That is now the current live running order at Barcelona. And Hamilton now coming through turn 3 looking supreme in that car. You have to say, that Mercedes is the best car right now in Formula 1. Without a doubt. You cannot you cannot doubt that. But let me just quickly, before I get to reading your comments in regards to the team orders, I'm going to post another picture of Ferrari. I'm going to post a picture of the moment Vettel was let through by Charles Leclerc. And it's not that one. Let me just get it a minute. As Hamilton now into turn 10. About to start lap 40 of the 66 lap Spanish Grand Prix. There you go. That's when positions were swapped. Vettel now ahead of Leclerc. But yeah, let me just read your comments, guys, because I want to know what you guys think. I want to know what you guys have to say. Do we have more super chats? I don't think we do. No. Right, let's see what you guys have to say. Jose says Vettel's best days are behind him. I agree. I do agree. Even though he has just been let through, he hasn't been that great today. As a team, Ferrari have been poor. Matthew Felton says Verstappen still needs half a second over Vettel to pit. Disagree with team orders if Vettel is also on a one stop. Those hard tyres of Leclerc will matter at the end of the race, I think. I see your point, but at the end of the day, if they're both on a one stop and Vettel can go faster, because Max is on a two stop, they've got to get the faster car ahead to close in on Max, so Max has to pass them on track to get the podium. So I think what they did was right. They put the faster car ahead, and you can clearly see that. I don't think Vettel will do one stop. I think Sebastian is going to do 2 pit stops, but I could be proven wrong as we are now 25 laps to go in this Grand Prix. It's now lap 41 out of 66. Right, let me see what you guys have to say. Crystal Racing says, it's like Ferrari have become bipolar. They desperately want one of their drivers to clearly outpace the other, but both are more or less the same. As Sebastian Vettel comes in, as I said, I thought he's on a 2-stop, and he is. So here comes Vettel for another set of medium tyres. Yep, there you go. So I think that further proves that that team order a minute ago was the correct thing to do. Great pit stop, by the way, by Ferrari, 2.2 seconds. But that was the right thing to do, I think, considering he was on a 2-stop. But Pierre Gasly is ahead into turn 1. And if Gasly's on a 1-stop, Vettel has to pass on track. So Vettel's afternoon now becomes very, very tough. And his chances of a podium are quite small, I think. Because I don't think he'll be able to catch Leclerc that quickly over the next 24 laps or so. But Leclerc is P4. Gasly is P5. And then you've got Sebastian Vettel now in position 6 on the track. And Vettel will want to get past Gasly as quickly as possible here. But will he be able to? And yeah, he does, down the inside at turn 10. But will Gasly come underneath? No, he will not. Vettel has the extra grip. That's great by Vettel. Took the opportunity. Down the inside at turn 10. Great move. And now Vettel has 16.5 seconds to catch Leclerc, which in my opinion is the podium. Leclerc is the man you have to beat if you're going to be on the podium, I think. So Vettel now has to catch that to get a podium. Thomas Hill saying torpedo, Vettel torpedo, big dive bomb. Yeah, it was for him, considering his history of overtaking moves. It wasn't it was a move that he was certain of making no matter what happened. Still Our Rice says, lol, Ferrari, Seb just wasted tyres because team waited too long. Again, they did wait too long. They should have put Vettel ahead of Leclerc probably 4 laps before. Because then Vettel would have had probably an extra 3 seconds in his pocket to get that podium. But that's the way Ferrari are. Vettel, by the way, is catching Leclerc massively. Leclerc on that hard compound of tyre, which you have to say is not doing well today. The only drivers on it are Leclerc and Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi is half a minute behind his teammate Kimi Raikkonen in 18th. And Leclerc is losing bags of time ahead and behind to other drivers. So, I don't quite understand what Ferrari were thinking with a set of hard compound tyres. By the way, Romain Grosjean is only half a pit stop behind Pierre Gasly, only 10 seconds behind. That's impressive. As Sebastian Vettel does a 120.0, 120 flat for Vettel, new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. When is Max Verstappen going to pit? That will be interesting to see. Because right now he's about 15 seconds clear of Leclerc. He will come out ahead of Vettel if he pits now. But if he pits now, he has a realistic chance of getting up to the back of Leclerc, going for the move and getting a podium. So it's going to be interesting to see when Red Bull pit here. I think they should pit pretty soon as Hamilton now starts lap 44. Out of 66. Kyle Greenwald says the hard tyres were never working. Yeah, I have to say, bit of a weird decision considering that Giovinazzi has already proved before Leclerc pitted that the hard tyres were not the tyres to be on, as Max Verstappen pits for medium tyres and comes out. That's a good pit stop. Yeah, 2.8. He will come out behind Leclerc but ahead of Vettel. So now the race is on. Who will get the podium out of Leclerc, Verstappen and Vettel? It should be really between Verstappen and Leclerc because Vettel is quite a bit behind. But you never know in Formula 1. Stranger things have happened. But Leclerc is now 3rd. And then in 4th is Max Verstappen. I've got Gasly ahead of Vettel for some reason. Let me just quickly change that. Vettel is, of course, 5th. And then you've got Pierre Gasly in P6. Then it's Grosjean, Kvyat, Magnussen, Albon, Sainz, Ricciardo. By the way, Ricciardo also on the hard tyres. And Raikkonen, and they're not working. So, yeah, that doesn't quite make sense. That's Lewis Hamilton's right rear tyre blistering, I think. I don't think that's pickup. I think that's blistering. But as long as he can manage that, he should be okay. But yeah, everyone on the hard tyres is not having a good race at the moment. They're all losing time or in low positions. So I don't think the hard tyre is really the way to go. The tyre to be on right now is undoubtedly the medium compound tyre, because almost everyone, excluding about, what, 6 or 7 drivers, are on that tyre. But I'm just looking at the order to make sure it's correct. It is. It is correct. Leclerc, by the way, is a pit stop behind Lewis Hamilton. So Valtteri Bottas, though, is not. So I don't think Mercedes are going to go for a 2-stop, because they will risk losing a 1-2 if they were to do that. If Bottas can pull out another 7 seconds, then they can do a 2-stop, but I don't think that is going to happen. By the way, let me just put this on screen, this picture of the battle between Kvyat and Magnussen, because I was getting excited earlier over it, and yeah, it was an interesting battle down to turn 1. And let me show what happened. And also, I don't know, this track doesn't... Oh wait, we do have a pit stop from Valtteri Bottas. Why have they done that? Unless they think Leclerc's pitting, why have they done that? Or is Leclerc full pit stop behind? Let's see. I thought Leclerc... Oh! Norris and Stroll off the track. They've crashed. That might be a safety car. Oh, we'll have to see that again. That looked chaotic. I think that's going to be a safety car. Oh, does that make things interesting? But I want to see what happened, because that looked very... Safety car! Safety car! Here we go. That has turned the race on its head with 20 laps to go. It's lap 46 out of 66. I was about to say, actually, I'm surprised there's no retirements, and then we have 2. Incredible. Yeah, Bottas... Right, Bottas has come out in second. But Hamilton... What's going to happen then with Hamilton then? So, right, into turn 2. And let's see. So, Norris going around the outside into turn 2. And... how am I going to call that? I'll have to have a look at the onboard of Norris for that. At the moment, I'm leaning towards that's Lance Stroll's fault. Here comes Lewis Hamilton on a set of soft tyres. Will he lose out to Bottas? I'm pretty sure he won't. No, he won't. So the 2 Mercedes now on a set of soft tyres. Here comes Ferrari, I assume for Charles Leclerc. And that's Norris and Stroll now out of this Grand Prix. Sergio Perez, I think, has just pitted. So has Daniel Ricciardo. Because Hülkenberg has just gone up 2 positions. Oh, Charles Leclerc, did he get it slowed down in time? I don't know, but he locked up his 2 front tyres. But will Leclerc actually... Will he be able to get ahead of Vettel now that the safety car is out? Because, of course, in the pit lane, you can go as fast as you want. No, there is Vettel. So, Vettel has done it. So, Verstappen is now up to 3rd. 4th is Sebastian Vettel. And then in 5th is... Charles Leclerc. I'm just trying to make sure I update the order for you guys. As Gasly and Grosjean pit. Also, Kvyat has pitted. Magnussen has pitted as well, I think. A bit weird why that's happened. But we've got Magnussen back ahead of Kvyat for some reason. So Magnussen is 8th. Danny Kvyat is in P9, then it's 10th is not Albon, it's Carlos Sainz, and then 11th is Alexander Albon. This really is going to shake up the race now. Yeah, 11th Albon, 12th Hülkenberg, so both Renaults right now out of the points. Ricciardo is 13th, and then it is Sergio Perez in Hold on a minute. It's Sergio Perez in P14. 15th is not Norris. He's just retired after that crash. It's Raikkonen. Then it is Antonio Giovinazzi. Then Rosso and Kubica. And your two retirements now, Stroll and Norris. I don't know yet who I would say is at blame. I need to see a replay from Norris's on board to determine that. Because I think that will determine who was at fault. So yeah, Kubica 18th, and then Stroll and Norris now at the back because they are out. But guys, with 18 laps to go, it's lap 48 out of 66. Now a safety car with that running order. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Let me know in the live chat. Let me just get a different picture on the screen for you guys. I've just seen let me just rewind it a minute because I didn't see it properly. So here is Norris is on board. I think Stroll should have gave him more space. He had enough of his car alongside to deserve space. What do you call it? Stroll turned in thinking Norris would not be there, which obviously you can't do. But let me now get this picture on screen of the crash. There you go. That was the aftermath of the crash. Norris and Stroll. That's now the McLaren on the back of the forklift. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens now. But yeah, let me know in the chat, guys. What do you think will happen now with a safety car? Let me just see if there's any more comments in this super chat. No, there's not. So I haven't missed any there. Right, let me start reading out your comments. In my opinion, Hamilton has to go to the box. That's obviously earlier on. The chat is now scrolling down very fast because I haven't checked it out in quite a few minutes because I was trying to make sure I got the order and everything done. Safety car still out. Lap 49 out of 66 now. So we should have 15 laps of racing. 15 laps of racing. That's enough, I think, to have a good end to this Grand Prix. Also, guys, let me know what have you thought of this race so far. And we're going to wait a bit longer, by the way, for the safety car because you've got Albon, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, and Perez lapped, and they need to be going through in a moment. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. Very interesting to see. But yeah, guys, in the chat, let me know what you thought of the race so far. I think it's been okay. I think it's been a 5 out of 10 at best. At worst, probably a 4. I don't think it's been that bad, and I think it could get better now with this safety car. Tonka Toy Truck says luck should not be an element in F1, and pitting under the safety car could be taken out of the equation. I see why you disagree with that, but at the end of the day, the pit lane is not the track. When there's a yellow flag around the entire track, so a safety car, you have to slow down on track and stick to a delta. But the pit lane is not the track. The pit lane is the pit lane. It's not the circuit. So when you're not on the track, you can go as fast as you want because you're not on circuit. But if you're on circuit, you have to stick to the delta. But now we are about to go on to lap 50 out of 66, and we should be getting the lapped cars getting let through in a moment because that's normally what happens. Boo Radley says finishing order is now, overtaking is unlikely. I'm not too sure about that. I mean, you've got Gasly and Grosjean. Grosjean, of course, has better straight line speed. He could get a run on Gasly. You got Vettel on Verstappen. Could get a run on Verstappen. Same with Leclerc. You've got, who else? You've got Albon on Sainz. That's one that could happen. Albon is faster than Sainz around this track. Perez on Ricciardo could happen. I wouldn't say that yet. Let's wait. The reason the safety car is staying out is because of two things. One, they're trying to clear the gravel, and then they're going to let the lapped cars through, I think. Kyle Greenwald, if you look at the running order, you'll be able to see where Bottas is. He's in the same position he's been all weekend. Or not all weekend, all day so far, second place. We're looking currently back from the safety car. And now we wait. As, yep, lapped cars may now overtake. That's Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Perez, Albon, Rosso, Kubica, Giovinazzi, and who is 23? I think it is Albon. Yeah, basically everyone from Albon down can now overtake the leader and catch the pack, which is good because if they couldn't do that, then they would be effectively a lap behind the other midfield cars like Grosjean, Magnussen, Kvyat, and Sainz, which is unfair. Ace Ray, yeah, you have missed something. Norris and Stroll crashed, and we now have a full safety car with 15 laps to go. Well, 16 to go, but about to be 15. The safety car will come in probably on lap 52 at the latest. So we're going to have an interesting last few laps, I think. Will Valtteri Bottas turn it up to max power and go for it down to turn 1? Because effectively, this is now a restart in this Grand Prix. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Paula M says hopefully Bottas will pass Hamilton. It would be exciting to see something down to turn 1, some kind of overtaking. If Bottas went wheel to wheel with Hamilton, that would be amazing into turn 1 because there's a lot that rests on that very thing. So yeah, still waiting for the safety car to come in. I'll read out the order once again. So we're under a safety car for a crash between Lance Stroll and Lando Norris. The order with 15 laps to go, lap 51 out of 66, is Lewis Hamilton leading, Valtteri Bottas is second, Max Verstappen is third, Sebastian Vettel is fourth, Charles Leclerc is fifth, Pierre Gasly is in P6, and then Grosjean is P7, Magnussen is P8, Kvyat is P9. I don't know why Kvyat got jumped again. We'll find out later after the race. Carlos Sainz at the moment is in the last points paying position. And then it's Alexander Albon in P11. P12 is Nico Hülkenberg. P13 is Daniel Ricciardo. P14 is Sergio Perez. P15 is Kimi Raikkonen. 16th is Antonio Giovinazzi. And then Russell and Kubica at the back. And then the two retirements are... Stroll and Norris. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, safety car I think will be in, not the end of this lap. It will be in at the end of lap 52 because they need to make sure that that Albon, Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Perez, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi. I wouldn't say Russell and Kubica to catch up because Russell was almost a lap behind Giovinazzi for some reason. But yeah, they need to wait for Albon, Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Perez, Raikkonen, and Giovinazzi to catch up. So that should happen at the end of this lap. So we should get racing again in about a minute or two. So get ready, guys. Could have a spectacular end to this Spanish Grand Prix. Let me know in the live chat. Do you think Lewis Hamilton will hold on for the win? Or do you think Valtteri Bottas will take it from his teammate? Yep, safety car is in at the end of this lap. Yeah, safety car coming in very, very soon. Probably in about a minute and a half or 2 minutes time. As we're only at turn 5 now, so still a bit of time to see the cars get off, you know, or not be behind the safety car anymore. I'll show this quick picture of Lewis Hamilton because he will lead the pack away. He has led this race for every single lap. But can Valtteri Bottas, now that he's been given a chance, can Valtteri Bottas now take that away from him? Let's see if he can do so. Right, I'm just trying to get this picture on screen for you guys as quickly as possible. Let me just, hold on a minute. So now they're coming through turn 10. The safety car will now go away. When will Lewis Hamilton, he's currently travelling very slowly at 70 kilometers an hour, which is basically the pit lane speed. And Hamilton not yet is going for it. By the way, Lewis Hamilton does tend to be very good at getting away. Here is a picture of Bottas. He's very good at getting away with the safety car. Restart. Here he comes now at the end of the safety car. And it looks as though Lewis Hamilton has a comfortable enough lead going down into turn 1. We're racing once again with 13 laps to go. And look, Pierre Gasly gets a run on Charles Leclerc down to turn 1. Vettel gets a run on Verstappen. The two Haases are side by side. And will Gasly go for it? No, he will not. The two Haases are... Oh, Grosjean's off the track. Magnussen pushes his teammate off when Grosjean's been there the entire time. And Gasly now has been passed by Magnussen. So Gasly way off the pace for some reason. But Gasly will hold it round the outside. And... does he go to the inside? Yes, he does. Turn 5. So Gasly just about holds on to P6 for now. And Albon and Hulkenberg are very close. But yeah, there you go. That is the restart. So Magnussen got past his teammate Grosjean into turn 1. That was a bit unnecessary, if I have to say, between the two Haas cars. As Kvyat... oh, down the inside of Sainz, who was past Kvyat then. So Sainz is ahead of Kvyat. Let me quickly update that. Here's a replay of Leclerc, Gasly, and the two Haases. So Grosjean, oh, contact, left rear to right front. That's why he went off. And I don't think there was anyone at fault for that because I think Magnussen just couldn't really go anywhere. But Lewis Hamilton does a new fastest lap of 19.8 as now Grosjean has to defend from Carlos Sainz. Yes, Sainz is 9th, Kvyat is 10th, and it's Albon, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Perez, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Russell, and Kubica. So that is the order with now 12 laps to go as the incident between Lando Norris and Lance Stroll will be investigated after the race. So yeah, it's now starting to settle down. Kevin Magnussen still within a second of Pierre Gasly, but that'll probably extend itself as they're now coming down into turn 10. No one at the moment looks massively close to one another. Ricciardo, will he go for the dive on Hulkenberg? No, he will not. I'll show you quickly a picture of what happened on the run down to turn 1 as Lewis Hamilton does another fastest lap as Valtteri Bottas is dropping back towards Max Verstappen at the moment. Hopefully Bottas doesn't have an issue. But Verstappen at the moment is very, very quick. Right, let me just get this picture up for you guys. Here you go. That was turn 1. And you can see there, look at Leclerc, Gasly, Vettel, Verstappen, the Haases, Kvyat, Sainz. So many side-by-side action to see there. That's exactly what we want to see in Formula 1. As we're now lap 55 out of 66. Hamilton is leading from Bottas in 2nd. Verstappen is 3rd. Vettel is 4th. 5th is Charles Leclerc. And then the rest of the top 10 is Gasly, Magnussen, Grosjean, Sainz and Kvyat. And then finishing the race but not in the points at the moment is Albon, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Perez, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi and the two Williamses. And of course, Stroll and Norris are out of this Grand Prix with that crash that caused the safety car. But when it comes to Verstappen versus Vettel, I think it's game over, as Max definitely has the better car in a race situation. And at the moment, in terms of whose car's in what position, I'm currently correct, as it is a Mercedes 1-2 and Red Bull in third. That's exactly what I predicted for this Grand Prix. As Grosjean gets a run on Magnussen, and Magnussen, what was that for a defense? That was very weird. He overly defended massively on Grosjean, as Daniel Ricciardo has just passed his teammate Nico Hulkenberg down into turn 1. So Ricciardo, as Grosjean, who has been clearly faster than Magnussen this weekend, will be so keen to get past. They've got to make sure they don't crash, though. This is a very important position to have. They are currently scoring 10 World Championship points. That could put them right back in the reckoning for P4 and the Constructors. A crash between these two cannot be tolerated. I accidentally put Magnussen in 13th. He's actually in P7. So there you go. Ricciardo ahead of Hulkenberg. The medium tyres to me look to be the better tyre still right now, as we are now 10 laps to go. That's including the final lap, but it's lap 57 out of 66. The order is as it is, running along the bottom of your screen. Grosjean again gets DRS on his teammate and looks to be very close to Magnussen. Will K-Mag defend? Yes, he does. Grosjean around the outside. Don't make contact. Oh, Grosjean's off again. And again, Grosjean fails to pass K-Mag, as Kimi Raikkonen has just passed Sergio Perez. What are Haas going to do about this? And by the way, this is ruining their race potentially, because they're bringing everyone else behind closer to them. You now got Carlos Sainz on the case, and Kvyat, and Albon, and Ricciardo, and Hulkenberg. Here's a replay. Grosjean tried to go around the outside. I don't think Magnussen pushed him off. I think that was fair. Grosjean just didn't have enough speed to carry around the outside to get the move done. So I think that was all fair and square. Raikkonen is P14. Perez is P15 now. As now you've got a big group behind the Haases. Ricciardo, by the way, looking mega quick. He's now right on Albon's case. Can Ricciardo get after Albon? By the way, the top 6 look to be settled for now, as Grosjean for the first time does not have DRS on. But Carlos Sainz has DRS on Grosjean. Carlos Sainz down the inside. Contact again, and Grosjean for the 3rd time in a row goes across the escape road and comes out ahead. This is great stuff. This is exactly why safety cars make races better. Carlos Sainz throwing it down the inside, and Carlos wants to put on a show for his home fans and go and get a strong finish. By the way, lap 58 out of 66, 8 to go here in Catalonia. I think this has been a pretty good race, in my opinion, as you've now got Kvyat and Albon and Ricciardo on the case of Carlos Sainz, who is still on the case of Romain Grosjean. And there you go for now. Here's a replay. So Carlos Sainz down the inside. I mean, yeah, Sainz did hit Grosjean off, but it wasn't, it was wheel to wheel. It wasn't anything dramatic. It was just a wheel to wheel contact. It wasn't Sainz deliberately pushing him off to get past. That's just the way it happened down into turn 1. Will Sainz go for it again down to turn 1? It's 59 now out of 66. We'll know in just a moment. Let's see the track. Let's not see Lando Norris. And here we come. Carlos Sainz round the outside of Grosjean. He's done it. Sainz is up to P8. What's happened to Grosjean? Has he got some kind of damage from going off the track so many times? Because he's now falling behind massively. Sainz is now P8. Grosjean, after being almost all of the race in P7, now is P9. So Grosjean P9 and now under serious threat from the Toro Rossos and the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo. So the order for now remains the same as we are about to start in a few moments, lap 60 out of 66. Let me just quickly get a different picture for you guys of what is going on track. Very exciting end to the Spanish Grand Prix. You cannot doubt that. Cannot doubt that whatsoever. But yeah, Grosjean, he's still sticking with Sainz, so Sainz can't breathe just yet. But let me quickly just get a picture of the Haas cars having a bit of contact. Yeah, Grosjean's still got DRS on Sainz. The Sainz can't relax as of yet. Kvyat though, is he going for on Grosjean? No, not yet. I think if Grosjean falls out the DRS of Sainz, Kvyat would have Grosjean at the moment. But let me just put a different picture on the screen for you guys of the Haases. There you go. That's how Magnussen got ahead. Contact. And then Magnussen held off for then. Or for now. Into turn 3 and 4. And now is P7. And looks as though he will finish there. So. We now are working on, in a minute, lap 61. Out of 66. Turn 1 incident between Grosjean and Sainz has been noted. That's from the stewards. Just to let you guys know that. So maybe some kind of penalty after the race. Who knows? But Grosjean now is outside of the DRS of Sainz. So now he will fall under pressure from Danny Kvyat. As we're now on lap 61 out of 66. Kvyat, yeah, Kvyat's going to have a go for sure down into turn 1. Here we go, Kvyat! Grosjean defends, Kvyat goes round the outside and into P9. Grosjean could end up out of the points. Because now Albon is after him. What an end to this race. So Kvyat P9, I think Kvyat deserves to be higher than P10 considering how good he has been in this Grand Prix. So Grosjean now drops to P10 with Albon in P11. Now I think I know why Grosjean is losing out. It's because he's on that soft compound tyre which is working so horribly right now. I think he's on the soft. I'm pretty sure he is. Kvyat then into P9. The Torpedo has overtaken the Mona according to Crystal Racing. By the way, guys, don't worry. I'm still keeping an eye on what's going on out front. There is no real gaps to really of interest. The gaps are all pretty stringed out. As we're now on lap 62 out of lap 66. Grosjean is still within DRS of Kvyat, but Albon looks to be closer to Grosjean than Grosjean is to Kvyat. But nonetheless, that's what's going on. So Grosjean, will Albon go for it down the inside? No, not close enough. But if Kvyat can help out his team massively here if he breaks that 1 second barrier and pulls ahead of Grosjean by that much. Because if he does that, I think Albon will get ahead of Grosjean. So, yeah, if Kvyat can do that, I think Albon can get Grosjean here, so hopefully Kvyat knows that and can help out his own team by doing so. But the order that is running along the bottom of your screen, guys, once again is the current order. As now, Albon, is Albon close enough? Yes, he does have DRS, but Grosjean, I believe, has DRS on Kvyat. Kvyat, if Kvyat can bang out a great final sector here, yeah, he is right. So if Kvyat maintains that gap that he has right now, he will help out his teammate a lot, but Albon's just fallen a second behind. That's disappointing. Come on, Albon. Oh, he's literally a full second behind. Does he get the DRS? Yes, he does. That's vital. It's on. We're now on lap 63 out of 66 as Albon now gets DRS on Romain Grosjean down to turn 1. Will he go for it? No, too far behind. But if he remains close enough for one more lap, I think Albon will get the final point. And I think Ricciardo could get Grosjean too. So, yeah, that is the situation at the moment. Lap 63 out of 66. Hamilton still leading from Valtteri Bottas second, Verstappen third, Vettel fourth, Leclerc fifth, Gasly sixth. Then Magnussen, Sainz, Kvyat, Grosjean. But Albon looks as though he could nick that final point. Then you got Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Raikkonen, Perez, Giovinazzi, Russell, and Kubica. Grosjean, though, again has got DRS on Kvyat. That's not going to help Albon's case for a point. We now have 3 laps to go. That's this one, the next one, and the one after. Now, lap 64 out of 66. And is Grosjean getting the DRS off Kvyat? Yes, he is. At the moment, he is, I think. Let's see if he does. No, he doesn't. And Albon will get the DRS. Is Albon close enough to go for it? Yes, he is. Albon's close enough. Here we go. Alexander Albon down to turn 1. Round the outside. Grosjean brakes. Albon does the switchback. And now cuts through again. But no. Grosjean holds him off for now. This is great stuff. They've still got, Albon has still got 2 chances down the pit straight to get Grosjean. So he needs to make sure, now that Grosjean doesn't have DRS down to turn 10, that'll help his case. But he's got to make sure he can be 6 to 7 tenths of a second behind when they hit the DRS for the pit straight. This is very, very important, by the way, for the constructors. This could be the difference between finishing in one position or another at the end of 2019. We're now on the penultimate lap, lap 65 out of 66. As Albon is 8 tenths of a second behind. Grosjean will not get DRS from ahead. And Albon, though, will get DRS, I'm pretty sure, on Romain Grosjean. If he can stay close enough. Oh, I'm not sure he is close enough. He opens the DRS, but is he close enough? I don't think he is. I don't think Alexander Albon, unless he has a mega amount of torque and power from that Honda. Will he down the outside, down the inside? No, he will not. So Albon has one final chance to get a point. And that is a final lap, daring move down the inside. And honestly, I think Albon should just go for it at turn 1 on the final lap. He has nothing to lose. He's not going to score any points at the moment. Just go for it down the inside and hope for the best. But, yeah, we are now, well, almost on the last lap. By the way, Lewis Hamilton currently has the fastest lap. As we are now on the final lap of the Spanish Grand Prix of 2019. And now, is Albon close enough? No, but by the way, Danny Kvyat is within DRS of Carlos Sainz, so Kvyat could get P8. We've got to watch out for that. Can Kvyat get Sainz? Come on, we've got to be watching that. Please, Mr. Director. Yes, here we go. Can Kvyat get past Carlos Sainz? Let's see. He's too far behind, I think. I think Kvyat's too far behind. Yeah, he is. Will Albon go for it down into turn 1? No, he doesn't have enough speed to do so. That's a shame. I think Albon will finish now in P11, as we are now moments away from the final few corners. Here we go. Lewis Hamilton. He has dominated this Grand Prix. Thoroughly deserved it. Mercedes are flying high in Formula 1. and he will come to win the 2019 Spanish Grand Prix. It's Mercedes' 5th consecutive 1-2 finish in 2019, and it is thoroughly deserved. Max Verstappen gets his 2nd podium of the season. Vettel finishes in 4th. 5th is Leclerc. Then it's Gasly, Magnussen, Sainz, Kvyat, Grosjean, Albon, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Raikkonen, Perez, Giovinazzi, Russell, and Robert Kubica is last. And then the 2 retirements, Lance Stroll and Lando Norris. So that is it. And let me just quickly put on the text that the race has finished. That is the end of the Spanish Grand Prix. Let me know, guys, your thoughts as to what happened at the Spanish Grand Prix today. What do you think of the race? Was it entertaining? Not so entertaining? And what do you think of some of the teams? Because for the next half an hour or so, I will react with you guys to what's happened in today's Grand Prix. There is your winner, Lewis Hamilton, dominating the Grand Prix. He did a fastest lap of 1:18.4. That, I think, is a lap record. And, well, he thoroughly deserves it. But Lewis Hamilton is now leading the Drivers' Championship by 7 points as we head to Monaco in a fortnight's time. But yeah, there you go. That is your 2019 Spanish Grand Prix. And as I said, guys, for the next half an hour, I'm going to react with you guys to what's happened in this Grand Prix. So make sure to get posting your comments, super chats, whatever, and I'll read out as many as I can until I come off later on. Max is on podium, but Albon out the points. Yes. As now doing the slowdown lap and all of that stuff. Let me just look at the comments here. They're flying by the comments. Great to see you guys, commenting the way you are. By the way, thank you, Fred Medina, who says thanks for broadcasting. Thank you very much. Hopefully I entertained you, and hopefully you'll come back for Monaco, where I will have a co-commentator alongside me in Nib. And by the way, Max Verstappen has won Driver of the Day. Would I go for that as Driver of the Day? Yeah, I would, I think. I don't think anyone massively stands out compared to Verstappen. That move he did to pass Leclerc and then Vettel around the outside in the exit of 2 and the entry in middle of turn 3 at the start, that was one hell of an overtake, and we will analyse that tomorrow in my incident analysis video. Crystal Racing says Kvyat. I think he's definitely up there, but I think Verstappen, because of his race and how quick he was and what he did on the first lap, I would have to go for Max Verstappen. But I think Kvyat second, then I'd probably say Carlos Sainz in P3 for the Driver of the Day standings. Tonka Toy Truck says Idiot of the Day, Roman. Yep. Well, at least he scored a point today. That's one thing. He scored a point. That's something for him. Take home. But yeah, big disappointment for him because he was really looking strong for P7 and it all fell away. And if there was more laps, he would have lost out on scoring points at all. But guys, after that race, and by the way, currently here in the UK, it is so hot. I'm just going to quickly have like a 10-second drinks break and then I'll be back. Just hold on a moment and then, I'll be back in just a moment because very hot and sweaty and that race was actually quite exciting. So, just hold on a moment. All right, there you go. Yeah, I got very, very hot and sweaty and a bit panicky at the end of that race then. A lot of close racing. And I think that was a good race. I think it was. I think that was better than... I think that was definitely better than Baku. And I would say that race was better than Australia as well. So I'd say that's the third best race this season out of the 5 out of the 5 we've had so far. So yeah, good race. Nothing spectacular, but I think that was a good Grand Prix for sure. Let me know what you guys think. Thomas Hill asks who got the fastest lap. It was Lewis Hamilton who got the fastest lap. Sean Mahoney says brain dead decision of the year goes to Ferrari for putting Leclerc on hard tyres. I would have to agree. That was a stupid decision. Dan O'Caro, many thanks, Chazza. Thank you very much for appreciating my commentary and all of that. It's like back in the early days of Lewis and Rosberg, too many Merc 1-2s. Yeah. Right, let's look at some more comments. Ferrari need another aero upgrade. They need a massive aero upgrade. They're nowhere near, aerodynamically, nowhere near Mercedes. And they do have a worse car aerodynamically than Red Bull. I think that's pretty clear to see. The only thing they have over Red Bull is power. That's it. Red Bull have the superior aerodynamics and grip. Thomas Hill asks, whose fault was Stroll and Norris crash in your opinion? I will analyse it further and then I'll talk about it in tomorrow's incident analysis video. But at the moment, I'm leaning towards Stroll being the person at fault because Norris had half of his car alongside and Stroll just turned in. So, yeah. Official JR says Max will finish P3 in the championship. I think he will. I think he will, yeah. I think he will. Crystal Racing, great 4D chess move from Ferrari. It didn't make any sense because Giovinazzi pitted early for hard tyres, so they had plenty of laps to see how Antonio was doing on that compounder tyre, and Antonio was doing poorly. So they had the data, but they still did it anyway. Make of that what you will. Right, let's look at some more here. Count Blah, how are people getting mad at Mercedes for kicking ass? Get mad and stay mad at Ferrari, for God's sake. I will say this, again, I think people that are we need to change the rules. The rules are not what they need to be. Just because one team is winning all the time doesn't mean the rules need to be different. Actually, if you leave the rules long enough, the field will close up. If you look at from 2014 to 2016, even though Mercedes dominated, the field got closer to them over that time. And I think eventually, if the regulations had stayed the same, I think by 2018, it would have been equal anyway, because they would have caught up. So yeah, leaving the regulations as they are is really the only answer to closing the field up. I don't think, making different regulations every 2 years ever helps at all. But yeah. Wazim, I think it is, says Mercedes has already dominated the championship in the fights between Bottas and Hamilton, not Vettel and Hamilton. Yeah, after Baku, I came out and said that Ferrari's championship hopes ended after Baku. And they'll do well to finish P2 in the Constructors, I think, because Red Bull today... Did Red Bull outscore them? No, they didn't, did they? Oh, no, they did. Red Bull did outscore them. Red Bull outscored them by a point. Verstappen and Gasly combined had 23 points and Vettel and Leclerc 22. So, yeah, I'd have to say Ferrari's aim has to be to maintain P2 in the Constructors because Red Bull, they are coming after them. Gasly's improving, the Red Bull car's improving, the Honda power unit will improve. I struggle to see where Ferrari beats Red Bull by the end of this season. I really struggle to see that. Right, let's read out some more comments here. Crystal Racing says, but Mercedes was so fast in 14 and 15 that they were detuning their engines for max reliability. True, probably true, but still, if you look at the gaps, they were closer than they were in or the year before. Say from 2015 or 2014 to 2015, the gaps were closer, especially in qualifying, than they were in 2014. So again, as time went on, their gap got shortened ever so, not ever so slightly, but by like a quarter of a second a season. One of the teams who was second got closer to them. And I think, again, by 2018, if we still had, by 2018, the 2016 regulations, I think one of Ferrari or Red Bull would have caught up anyway. By the way, this is the same podium as last year. Hamilton winning from Bottas second and Verstappen third. So don't worry, it's not 2018. It is 2019, but it's just the same podium. Right, I'm going to try and find a final picture, maybe, if I can, or I might just leave the picture that's on screen right now for you guys. Actually, here you go. I'll get rid of this, and this, and I'll post a results graphic that I've just found on Twitter as the final picture, so you guys, anyone tuning in, knows what the results were. So yeah, let me just put that on screen. And here you go. So these are the final results of the 2019 Spanish Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton wins from Valtteri Bottas second, Max Verstappen third. Then it's Vettel 4th, Leclerc 5th, Gasly 6th, Magnussen 7th, Sainz 8th, Kvyat 9th, Grosjean 10th. Then it's Albon, Ricciardo, Hulkenberg, Raikkonen, Perez, Giovinazzi, Rosso and Kubica not scoring any points. And then the two retirements, Lance Stroll and Lando Norris. So I'll leave that up until the end of the stream so you guys know what happened. Yeah, keep your comments coming, guys, as to what happened in this Grand Prix. What do you think of the race in terms of excitement? What do you think of the performances of teams and drivers? Let me know for the next 15 minutes or so, and then I will come off and get the review of qualifying ready for 6 PM UK time, which, by the way, again, that's when I'm doing the race review, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell for that video, and also make sure to hit this race watch along with a like. Cyber Trader says Renault's out again, 0 points. Yeah, Renault are in trouble. They're in big trouble. And my first recorded video, which I'll kind of announce more so in the race review, but I'll announce more so in the race review rather than what the schedule is between this Grand Prix on the channel and Monaco. For the next recorded video after the incident analysis on Monday will be a video about Renault for sure, because I need to do a video on Renault because their start to the season has been, considering their money and resources, it's pathetic, their performance so far. Yeah. Ferrari could have used a soft compound to get a good pace. They didn't have any new ones left, and I think if they were on old ones, they would have struggled. They don't have good tyre wear, do Ferrari. Red Bull, Mercedes do, Ferrari don't. But yeah, there you go. Let me just read some more comments here. Hello to Graham Payne. Is Monaco a great track? It's a great track. Yeah, it doesn't produce the racing sometimes, but you have to have it on the calendar. The pros with Monaco outweigh the cons in terms of commercial, a commercial standpoint, but also watching the cars around the track, especially in qualifying, is one of the best things you'll see in a Formula One season. Steve Grobot says, Ricciardo, you got to get back to that Red Bull. The Renault is a bleep box. Yeah. Yeah, maybe he did make a mistake. But again, I will say, we cannot say now whether it's a mistake or not, because we are only 5 races in to his contract at the team. You've got to wait. You've got to wait. You've got to give it time. Because Renault, by the way, their aim is to be seriously competitive in 2021. So let's give it at least until the end of the season, or at least that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait till the end of the season, then I'll probably do a video making an assessment of Ricciardo's move and whether it so far looks like it is going to work out or not. Let me just see. JB, who was your driver of the day, Chaz? I will go for Max Verstappen as my driver of the day. After that, Kvyat, and then after that, I'd probably say Carlos Sainz. Yeah, that's who I would go for a top 3 drivers of the day. So yeah, there you go. I will say there wasn't a clear choice out there really, but yeah, that's the way it is. Right, the next what 5-10 minutes, we'll read out some more comments from you guys. Astro Stevo asks whether Lewis Hamilton is driver of the day. I wouldn't say so, because yeah, he made a decent move into turn 1 to get the lead and ultimately the win, basically. But I think Verstappen did better to get what he got than what Hamilton did. Hamilton was great, but I think Max did better because, again, that stunning double overtake on Leclerc and Vettel was, well, not so stunning on Leclerc, but definitely on Vettel. It was absolutely fantastic. And then the way he conducted his race from then on was great. It was absolutely fantastic. Right, let's read out some more comments here. Graham Payne hopes that Lewis Hamilton wins the Drivers' Championship. JB thinks the first 3/4 of the race was boring, but after the safety car it was decent. I disagree. I think it was better than what you're thinking. I would give the race a 6 out of 10. A 6 out of 10. I think it was a pretty good race considering it's this track. And if you look at the races this season, I think it was the 3rd best race this season after Bahrain. And I would say Shanghai was better than this. Only just. But I think, yeah, 3rd best race this season has to be this for me. And that's pretty good. I definitely would not say that Spain would be better than Baku for entertainment, but it was for me. Ruza Ruse says Torpedo for driver of the day. Crystal Racing says without safety car it's a 2 out of 10. No, I wouldn't say it's a 2 out of 10 without safety car. I think without the safety car maybe a 4, not a 2. But yeah, for the whole race with safety car, of course, I'll go for a 6 out of 10. Astro Stevo says Ferrari been shocking this year. Thought they'd fall back, but surprised just how badly they've messed up. Ferrari are just going to get worse. They are only going to get worse. There will be tracks where their pace will improve only because of the characteristics of that certain track. But in terms of overall how the car will do consistently, it will only get worse from here. So if you are a Ferrari fan, then yeah, it's only going to get worse. So brace yourself. Hello to Ronan Brady, great to see you, mate. He says Ferrari, that was dreadful. It was, again, lack of good leadership at Ferrari, I think. The team orders situation, again, they've, in both occasions, they should have let the driver behind through. They did, but they took way too long to do so. And I think it did cost them pace in this Grand Prix. Did it cost them a podium? Probably not, with the safety car coming out. But they could have been closer before that safety car. So, yeah, I think Ferrari, again, have conducted themselves very poorly this weekend. Pace, poor. Team, poor. Drivers, I have to say, drivers this weekend, not really that great. I think Vettel did well in qualifying, but in the race, I don't think Vettel was that good. Neither was Leclerc. I think they were both quite bad. The team was bad. Their strategy is still terrible. Inaki Rueda deserves to be sacked so hard. Not one person in the Formula One paddock deserves to be sacked more than him. He is so bad. But yeah, that's Ferrari for you. Just an absolute shit show. Crystal Racing says, strange you say too many regulation changes have... I'm not saying they've helped Mercedes. I'm not saying that at all. But I think constantly making new ones up every 2 years does not help the closeness of the entire pack. I'm not just talking about them. I'm talking about the entire pack. I think the pack would be closer if you left the regulations alone. Because eventually, those smaller teams would find, you know, how to really get their car going in terms of grip and all that stuff. And then they'd improve. But the way F1 is, whenever someone starts to win too much, we have to change the regulations because other teams and other fans on Twitter cry. That's basically why we have new regulations every 2 years. I'm going to say I dribble for your name. He says, or asks, what is your opinion on Renault? They seem to have such a lack of pace compared to the other midfield teams. Yeah, Renault have been poor this season. The only race they've been good was Shanghai. All the other races has been poor. And I think this season, like Ferrari, is turning into a disaster. Renault are basically the midfield version of Ferrari. They're getting worse, not better. It's getting worse just with the way their car is. Their car doesn't seem to be improving. There's not really a redeemable thing about their car. Yeah, the Renault's just terrible. It's terrible. Compared to where it should be, it's terrible. They should have been where Kevin Magnussen was. Around that position on track. But they weren't. They were quite a bit off that today. Right, I'll read out 2 or 3 more comments and then I'll come to the end because I do want to get the race review ready, considering I only have 2 hours to get that ready. Cyber Trader asks, is Gasly pulling his weight yet? I think Gasly is starting to improve, and I think if he continues at that pace at worst, I think he can last the season. I think he deserves to. So yeah, but he does still need to improve. I think if he can still get another 2 tenths out of himself, that will improve the team's results. But for now, he's doing just about okay. Definitely better than what he was doing in the first 3 races. And I think next race in Monaco, given how the Red Bull car should be, I think Gasly will be at least in P4. I expect Red Bull to be fully ahead of Ferrari in Monaco. Red Bull's aerodynamics and chassis are way ahead of Ferrari's. And also Mercedes are the same. Right. Let me just find... I'm going to end on one final comment. I'm going to find a comment here. And then I will come to the end of the stream. Again, I'll be live at 6 PM in 2 hours. So don't worry, I'll be back live soon enough. Right, let me find one final comment. Then I'll come to the end here. Right, I'll end on Ronan Brady's comment, which is, I reckon by the summer we will see some management changes at Ferrari. Maybe not that early, but I think by the end of the season they have to. They have to start getting rid of the people that are causing this dramatically poor form to happen. Inaki Rueda has to go. If Ferrari don't win a race and get worse as the season goes on, you could make a case for Mattia Binotto going or dropping back into a technical director role, but I don't even think he's good enough for that role right now. We're going to have to wait and see, though, how Ferrari do, whether they can improve. But right now, they are literally getting worse. And if that does continue, then I think we'll see some big changes at the team. But guys, that is it for the race watch along for the 2019 Spanish Grand Prix. I just want to say to you guys, thank you for coming along and being a part of the stream and being a part of this Grand Prix as always. Still, of course, have the race review at 6 p.m. UK time in 2 hours' time, so don't forget to come along to that. But also, remember, I will be doing an analysis of the incidents in the 2019 Spanish Grand Prix tomorrow at 12 p.m. UK time. So don't forget to come along to that. What I'm going to do is analyse the Norris-Stroll crash, the start of the race where Verstappen went round the outside of the two Ferraris, and I'll also probably analyse Grosjean versus Magnussen and Grosjean versus Sainz as well. So don't forget to come along to that to see my analysis, and also come along to give your opinion on what happened. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe for that content. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or click on my channel name, go to my homepage and subscribe and hit the notifications bell for that content. Don't forget to like this video as well and comment down below what you thought of this video and what did you think of the 2019 Spanish Grand Prix. Also, don't forget to join my Discord server, link below in the description. That's the best place for notifications for my videos and streams, and also that's the hardcore Chazza HD F1 community, and we have nearly 200 people in that server. It would be great to have you as the 200th member in that server. So if you want to be a part of it, the link below is in the description. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110. And check out my website, chazzahd.com, for more content like this. But guys, until my race review and until the next Grand Prix in 2019 in Monaco, it has been me, Chazza HD. Goodbye.